of Evans Chebet. There you see Cisse Lima, who's got the 4th fastest time all time, but has had a horrible record here in Boston.
2 DNFs.
And a 30th when you come through. So they introduce Lehman to the crowd. Now you notice, again, big race names on the bibs, last names, Gay last name. If you win, you get to be on a first-name basis with the crowd. So when you get over here to see Evans Chebet, you'll know him because it just says Evans. That's the guy. As we're down to not quite a minute beforehand. So, I don't know how your heart's not pumping Kool-Aid at this point.
Oh, well, we're looking at Elkanah Kibet. I mean, he is coming off of that 4th place finish. That is the hardest place to finish at the Olympic Games and at the Olympic trials. But he's thrilled to be here. And you know what? He said he wants top 5. But he wants the win as well. He thinks big, he believes big, and he just is so excited to be here.
And we'll get into what a top 5 finish would mean for him and Leonard Carrere as well. And there's the champ.
Yeah, Evans, he hasn't had quite the build that maybe he has in the past, but he said he's strong, he's fit, he's had an Achilles injury, but sometimes those injuries make us stronger physically, mentally. Our soul just kind of bleeds to get back out there, and that's what Evans seems to have right now.
Hasn't raced in years, had an Achilles problem, unable to defend his championship in New York City last year because he was one of the few people that has gone on and won both Boston and New York in the same year. Evans Chebet trying to become the first three-peater since Robert Kipkowicz's Chariot 2006 to 2008. But it's race time, so you don't need to hear that from me.
Geoffrey Mutai in 2011.
Start the clock. They need more cowbell as they go down that first mile. Downhill. Everybody feels froggy when they get out there.
Yeah.
It's, you hear every runner. I've heard 100-meter runners go, you got to be patient, which always is, to me, is an oxymoron. Like, you got 9.5 seconds, dude. You don't get that time to be patient. Marathon, you need to actually be patient. Even if you're going to run 2:03, there's patience involved.
Yeah, I spoke to 5 of the champions that are here in the professional field, and every single one of them said patience on this course especially. And you know what, getting off the line fast, almost doing like a little sprint, like get the heart rate going a little bit, that's okay. But now you kind of have to settle in here and start thinking about racing.
We talk so much about this downhill start and what a factor it is in the wheelchair race. What is it like starting a running race down a hill like that?
I mean, it's equally as exciting, right? You get off the line, but I do think you have to pull back even quicker. The quads start to talk to you real soon. We've talked about how CJ Albertson, who's up here, we've seen him lead this race. He's had a lead by over 2 minutes at one point in 1 year. He has done so many different things with his training to be able to build these quads up, including putting bricks underneath his treadmill to be able to get this kind of a downhill start. So there's so many different things that go into it.
And the first half is remarkably fun, and the second half is hard, and it can be awful as we go through some of the men's professional field. And you see those personal bests with Lema, 2:01:48 run in Valencia under perfect conditions, and as we've said, had some trouble when it's not a flat course. We mentioned Sabrian Catat, who is a training partner of Evans Chebet, and Shira Katada, who's had good finishes here, only 14th a year ago. John Carrere, whose brother won this one.
Yep.
Zohair Talbi, I wouldn't be stunned if he finds it 5th last year and could find himself closer in there.
I think that Talbi is someone we have to talk about. He's coming off of Ramadan. He said he's excited to come here. He celebrated Ramadan. He put that hard work in. He had to devote, and now he is ready to roll.
Great thing
CJ Albertson, as we talked about, he is definitely in this lead pack of Americans that we talked about. Always likes to be up in front.
I think it would be great. Talbi speaks 4 languages, Arabic, French, English, and a regional dialect. I would love to see which language then Hannah will interview him if he wins.
That would be amazing.
Right?
Yes.
I don't know how Hannah's Arabic is, but it would be awesome to see exactly, how it comes out. So who else is on that list? Albert Carrere, who won in New York.
Yep.
So he's certainly one to watch. Kibet, we touched on Elkanah Kibet. Top 5 for him would really make a big difference for the Paris Olympics and the American Olympic team. Before we get into that, we want to go out with the guy riding with the lead men's leaders. That is Josh Brogger. Usually we have a moto out there, right? But since we're in Boston, I think Josh is on a duck boat. He's a WCB sports reporter. He's covered this race many times. He knows the competitors. He knows the course. And now he's going to keep us in the know. Josh, good morning.
John, good morning to you. This is the best seat in the house. It's like I'm 10th row orchestra watching the symphony. I'm seeing the violinist vibrato, only in this case, it's the runners and their legs are going. And you know what? So far, they're hitting all the right notes. The lead runner here, way ahead of everybody else, but I can see out of the corner of my eye, Evans Chebet, and he's not too far from the lead, trying to go for that three-peat for the 5th time, as you said, in Boston Marathon history. What better seat than this to be a spectator? And really, when it comes down to it, we are spectators, just like everybody alongside. This is my 15th marathon that I've been covering in Boston. Can't wait to cover it all day today. Send it back to you guys.
Thank you, Josh. Runners like to have the wind at their back. Ideally, we don't want the sun at our back when we're seeing people, but that's all right. That'll change at some point as they get going here. And you want to talk about Clarence DeMar was the first guy to win 3 in a row. He did that back in the 20s. Then Bill Rogers, famously, right? There's not a name, I think, that's even more tied to this championship and this wonderful marathon than Bill Rogers, who did it in 78, 79, and 80. Cosmas and Ndidi did it in the early 90s. And then Robert Kipkoech Chariot, 2006, 2008. Those were the last, the only 4 people that have won 3 in a row, and Evans Chebet trying to match that.
You know, Evans Chebet being one that is going for that 3-time champ, you know, winning and being the champion, he's got so much pressure. Not only are you the 2-time defending champion, but he's also thinking about this Olympics this summer. He has not been named to the Kenyan team. In fact, he's not even on their provisional first 5 that are going to make that team. So for him to come here, he really is thinking about, if I win again, that maybe will get me back on this list. That's a lot to handle, John.
Hard to believe that with the success Chebet has had, and it was a while coming, but has not run a ton of marathons. He's run 20-some odd marathons, but he's not had many that were poor results for sure.
And the one thing that's different is that he hasn't run super fast. So
there you go, back to the start line. See the women's competitors that are in there. There's the timeless Edna Kiplagat.
I just love her. You know, I talked to her yesterday, and she absolutely feels like this is a second home to her. Boston welcomes her every year, and it is just a thrill to see her back.
Plus, there's Helen O'Beary. Edna's 44. She makes you look like you're just, you know, staying at home all the time. I'm just telling you, people, how it is. And there's Des Linden. Everybody loves Des. You know what? We're kind of going through the field. Let's go in depth. Naoko Funiyama, she's been in charge of the women's field. She has more on these great athletes getting ready to compete here in Boston.
The bar has been raised, a historically fast women's field led by the defending champion Helen O'Beary. No longer an unfamiliar rookie, she's won 2 of her first 3 career marathons.
Marathon, it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. So for me, going to Boston, patience is the best key thing.
O'Beary will have serious competition from this year's field, the fastest
and early in her career as a marathoner.
I mean, if you're new to watching our sport, this is a woman that we are just lucky to have. I mean, she's been so good on the track. Her cross country is amazing, and then also now moving to the marathon. But you know what? I think she really loves this 26.2 thing. You know, she said she loves the training. She doesn't even really like to go back and do track workouts, so she's really transitioned well, and she's just a winner.
By the way, we only about 20 seconds left, so we'll make this quick. Just behind her, Sharon Lokedi. How do you win the New York Marathon and only get in the 2nd row? Like, that's crazy. All right, we're about to go. You don't need to hear from me again. Let's hear from the PA and the gun, and let's get going. Run towards Boston.
And right on time. Exactly 9:47 this morning. We send the professional women's division off and running. Same destination as our previous starts, 26.2 miles. They'll finish at Copley Square.
We're 12 seconds in. Emma Hall just looked at her watch. Like, what could you do? I guess just to see if it started.
Yes.
Just to make sure it was rolling on. Emma Bates was wonderful in her news conference when they asked her about last year and leading so deep. She's like, it's just freaking cool to lead the Boston Marathon.
Yeah, I mean, you could see that last year. She got this boost of energy when she moved to the front. And even though she didn't break the tape, she felt like that was a pretty big win. She went into last year's race thinking she could set the American record. I mean, she really was confident. And you know what? She's confident this year, too. We haven't seen her race, but that is Emma Bates' MO. She doesn't race a ton. She knows how to get it done in practice, whether it's race simulation, time trials, whatever it is. She builds her confidence from week after week, workout after workout.
They're one of the few places on this course that's not lined with people. You know, there are a lot of places where it gets really, really loud as we look at the women's professional field and Tadeu Teshoma. That 217.36. Gebra Merriam at 217.59. Look at all those sub-220s in this field. It's a group that could really come home quick with the weather's good. And if they choose to push it, they went out conservatively last year, but if they choose to go ahead and step on the gas a little bit, we could have a really fast time here.
For sure. We have 9 women that have gone under 220. So, you know, we don't see that very often here. We've only seen one woman do that, but we will see some fast times, I think, in this field today.
Edna Kiplagat twice has won this championship, and she just said, you know, she just trains hard, and the Lord has blessed her with a body that continues to run and be able to do great things. Hellen Obiri, part of that, like that 221 PR is not super fast, but she races super well.
I like that you said that, because even last year I was looking back, I mean, and even at New York, like this is a woman that is used to running on the track. She's used to sitting and kicking, having tactical races. That doesn't bother her. A lot of people do not like to have someone sitting on their shoulder or being behind. She doesn't mind right now being patient. She's had to learn this, but she can sit and kick. So that is a weapon that every single athlete out here knows. They do not want Hellen Obiri on their shoulder with 200 meters to go. So they have to sort of run a little bit of that speed out of her.
And the women's races have been great the last 2 years. 2 years ago in her win, Paris Chepchirchir went mile 26, and they exchanged the lead several times with Yeshina.
Yeshina
and Ababel Yeshina. And then a year ago, and it wasn't until mile 25 that Hellen Obiri shook everybody loose.
Yep.
So it's a good field. It's a deep field, and I would expect that they're going to be deep into this thing 40 kilometers or more. Now we're going to go out on the course with our leader with the women's elite field of runners. That's Naoko Funiyama, WCVB, veteran Boston reporter. Listen, she knows the race, she knows the field. You don't need me to tell you any more than that. We'll just let her go and tell us what she's got for us this morning. Naoko?
Hey, you know what? This is amazing that Emma Bates is leading the pack. This is exactly where she wants to be. But what I love about this race, you guys, is how much it is loved and respected by runners of all levels, and especially the pros. You guys talked about Des Linden being back for her 11th. Sharon Lokedi, she's so excited to finally be able to run this race. She said, I could not wait. I've been waiting all my life to run the Boston Marathon. You know, Emma Bates called this the mother of all marathons. Edna Kiplagat, it's so special for her. But Sarah Hall, I love what she told me the other day. She said, quote, I am obsessed with the Boston Marathon. By the way, it is her 41st birthday today. So happy birthday, Sarah Hall. Way to spend it on the Newton Hills.
The mother of all races. Carrie, we have a lot of mothers in this field, like successful runners that have, you know, had children and come back, which is always sort of a dicey thing. And how do you handle that in your career?
And just a side note, our woman leading is a fur mom. She has fur babies back home. 2 goats, Thelma and Louise, and then she has this awesome dog. So she's got her hands full too on the side. But yes, lots of mothers out there. Helen, Sarah Hall right there, Edna Kiplagat. I mean, the list goes on. And I do think that it has changed. The demographic of pro women racers has changed, because you can see that it can happen, you can make it happen, and we are all so inspired by it.
If I had 2 goats, I would name one Carl Lewis and one Kipchoge. That's what I would.
Of course you would.
They're the goats.
Grant Holloway is not going to be happy with you, though.
Well, he needs a gold. When he gets his Olympic gold medal, then I'll go buy a goat and name it Grant Holloway. out on the wheelchairs. Marcel's coming. He's closing hard. He's already to Newton, which means that's a little slower pace already from him, right? The turnover's not what we're used to.
Marcel's peeking behind his shoulder, but there is nobody there. He is 4 minutes ahead of second place right now. But you can tell if you look at arm speed, the cadence of the way his arms are moving, he is climbing, and he is climbing hard.
And then over in Wellesley right now, Eden Rainbow Cooper still going. Her lead's about a minute.
It's the first that I've seen that lead start to fall.
And she's going to get tested when she gets to where Marcel is, and that is into the Newton Hills. So part of the good thing, right? Going up's hard, but at least you come down and you got a chance to at least sort of catch your breath and reset.
You get a little bit of a break. Manuela Schar just about a minute behind Eden Rainbow Cooper right now. And as much as Manuela Schar wants to tell you that she hates climbing, she'd rather go downhill, she loves the flats, she is an incredible climber. And if this gap gets closed on Eden, I think it's going to be in these hills.
Daniel Romanchuk in second. Last year, Marcel won by more than 10 minutes, which is really a spanking when he comes through here. There's Eden Rainbow Cooper. Okay, so I touched on this when we went to a break. I want to know real quick. You said here road conditions are really, really pretty good.
They are. Road conditions here in Boston are great. Steering a racing chair, I mean, you're controlling a whole other piece of equipment when you're out there on the road. So in addition to just, going fast, you've also got to be paying attention to potholes, to turns, to bumps on the road and things like that. These roads in Boston are smooth. The course is straight, and you can really focus on getting your cadence up, putting your head down, and just going. Right now, Marcel Hug, estimated finish time of 1:12.56. So we know the second half is going to be slower. It's almost impossible to negative split in this race. So I expect the pace to slow down a little bit from that. But joking, yesterday I asked him if he saw 1:10 on the horizon, and he said, no way, not for decades. But we're getting pretty close to 1:10.
So we're getting close to breaking 2 hours in the marathon for runners.
Yes.
What is that? Like, what's equivalent to that?
It's so hard because, like we were talking about the courses, they play such a big role. In this Boston course, sometimes the times here can be 1:18, 1:19, 1:20, but if you've got a tailwind for that whole course, they can be tough, they can be slow.
Right.
And
But
now,
you said close to 1:15 would be pretty, I mean, that'd be almost...
Marcel has the fastest world's best time right now at 1:17.06. He's the first man to break 1:18.
Okay.
and look at the elite fields, men's and women's. Men's on your left, that's Cisse Lema, who is out in front. He ran 14:21 for that first 5K. Again, that seems pretty sporty, but it is mostly downhill. The defending champ, Evans Chibet, tucked in just behind him.
Well, what I like about Lema is that he's had 2 PBs in this last year in 2023. He ran his 2:01:48 in Valencia. That was just in December, so not that long ago. And then he also had a good half marathon in October of 1:01. So, I mean, you know, he's been around, but now, even though he's a little bit older, he's in his 30s, he's running better than ever.
One of 4 men ever to dip under 2:02. Kelvin Kiptum, Kipchoge, Kanesia Bekele have all done that, but he has still got a lot to prove here in Boston, and maybe that's it for, like, he ran 2:22 here in Boston, which is his slowest time ever, but if he ran 2:22 and could win the Boston Marathon, he'd take that, but he's got 2 DNFs and a 30th, so he certainly has things to prove here. There's Emma Bates, who, well, I don't know what's to prove after getting into a top 5 as well as she ran last year, because she was into mile 25 as well, and Edna just behind her.
Well,
Mary Gugi's there as well.
I think Emma Bates has a lot to prove. I mean, this was devastating for her to get hurt when she did.
Yes.
She ran the Chicago Marathon. She thought she was in American record shape then. She limped the second half of that race on a torn plantar. I mean, she tore her plantar off the bone. She is one tough cookie, but this is revenge. Women
go through that first mile in 5:18. Which just means there's only 25 more of them to go and a little bit. And guess what? We have them all for you here on ESPN2 and WCVB TV. It's the 128th Boston Marathon for the first time, presented by Bank of America. Back here at the 128th Boston Marathon, and all the elite races are underway in various stages along the course. First guy that's going to come home is Marcel Hoog in the men's wheelchair race. Eden Rainbow Cooper continues to lead in the women's race. There's the men's. Salama out early in this one. A long way to go, and be curious to see if he can hold up on that.
Yeah, what is hard right now is Lemma is up by about 8 seconds. Zuhair Telbi is in second there. This is a really tough thing for Zuhair. Do I go or do I wait?
So we have the elite runners out on the course, and get ready. Now there are 4 waves of what you would call like the everyday, the amateur runners, although with the qualifying times, this is a really serious group of runners. But sometimes it's great just to have a bib and the experience of running the New York City Marathon. And in that group right there is none other than the great Meb Keflezighi, the former champion who won in 2014. He is running for charity. He is the worst athlete ever at retiring. Because he said, I'm done after New York. His 26th marathon. He's run like 6 of them since, but he's going to raise a ton of money for his Meb Foundation that does nothing but good work. Meb is a legend here, as is Duke Castiglione. Hannah, you are in adjacent company of excellence in Boston.
I know, it's just incredible, John. I'm actually nervous standing here next to Duke, a Boston legend. He's getting a kick out of that. Listen, Meb Keflezighi means so much to the city. Yeah. As you well know, Duke, he is the definition of Boston strong. So in 2013, he was in the stands here watching and left minutes before the bombing. Then he comes back the next year. He said he had, a 1% chance of winning, right? And he pulled off the miraculous, the meaningful. And I know you had a chance to speak with him about it this week.
Do you know he visualized the whole race prior to the start in a church in Hopkins? He visualized the whole thing. He was not going to be denied. I did have a chance to lace him up with him this week. We went for a run. As he gets ready.
Which is impressive, by the way, that you ran with him and conducted an interview.
Yes, he's going to run again today, so we had a chance to talk about this. But, you weren't anywhere near the favorite.
No, I was not. Most experts had me less than 1% to win.
Right. No one expected you to win.
Well, that seems to be my underdog is my thing. That was not the best I ever felt. But my heart was in the right place.
Right. The emotion carried you?
The emotion carried me too.
Yeah.
There's something bigger than yourself. I missed the bombing by 5 minutes.
Right.
I left, and then that same evening, the lady named Bonnie Ford asked me, are you going to come back? Are you scared? What's your mental status for your family? I'm like, I have to be healthy enough to win it for the people.
Right.
I'm going to come back. I'm going to do everything I can to win it. I want to do that on Patriots Day for the runners.
And what was that like when you crossed?
When I crossed the finish line?
Yeah.
That was magical.
What do you think it's going to be like when you cross this on Monday?
It's going to be emotional. It brings us all together. The camaraderie is just amazing. Just an incredible time to be here in Boston on April 15th.
It's just so much fun. It was really getting a lesson from the best of the best.
No.
And when he ran the streets here, so we went down Marlboro and then we made our way across the river. Everybody just kept doing this. Like, did I just see what I think I saw?
Did they just see you trying to keep up?
Yes, I tried. He took it easy on me, but it was so much fun.
Yeah, he's looking forward to high-fiving with some of the, regular runners today. Going to conserve his energy, though. He wants to finish in about 3 hours. John?
Duke, you look good at 12-minute mile pace, man. Looked like you could have run. You could have run forever.
Walking.
It was good. These people are going much quicker. Newton Hills, Marcel. Once he navigates those, I feel like 7 seems close right there.
I think 7 seems close, barring a flat tire. Anything else going on there? I think he's got it.
He's now on a pace for about 1:15. Eden Rainbow Cooper, again, when she gets those, she's in Newton, those hills, that'll really determine what's happening. Manuela Schar is 40 seconds back, so she's right there. We go back to Ed and Maria because we have a special guest who Just don't let the man spike the trophy. That's all I'm going to say. Just don't let him spike the trophy.
He's the man that has a dent in the Super Bowl trophy. So, I mean, but you think Marcel Hugo's fast on the course. Here's the Grand Marshal.
He just
who made
crossed
it
the
here in
finish
record
line.
time.
And his hands are cold. I gave him my hand warmers. You're welcome, Gronk.
Yes, thank you so much. I was sticking my hand out the window the whole time.
As the Grand Marshal.
As the Grand Marshal, and it almost fell off. It almost froze off.
Please.
Everybody knows who it is, but we're joined by Rob Gronkowski, who won 3 Super Bowls here with New England. Another one with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But
we'll just talk about the 3 with New England.
I like it very much.
Yes.
When you were at the start line,
right.
That's impressive. You've been in Super Bowls, many of them. You've played with the Patriots and the Buccaneers and the concentration of the National Football League on you, but to be standing at the start line, what's that feel like?
It was a really cool feeling. I didn't know what to expect at all, and you can just feel the whole community coming together. It's just so awesome that so many people come out to support all of these runners and give them that confidence boost right before they take off, and give them that feeling that everyone is there to support you, and no matter what the circumstance is or the situation is during your run, everyone's going to still be there to cheer you on.
What energy, right?
Yes.
Isn't it like nothing you've ever felt?
Yes, it's wild. It's like a parade. I've had 3 parades here before in the city of Boston, and it's like a 26-mile parade. It's just very cool.
And what's with this trophy? Did you spike that?
No, I did not spike it. I
good.
would have broken that
Thank
trophy
you.
if I spiked that trophy. I got to save it for the winner.
And remember,
oh, wait, there you are.
Boom, there you go.
I Gronk spiked that football, though.
Look how far it reached,
I'm
too.
glad you liked. He loved watching that. That was great.
Yes, that was cool.
You've as we mentioned, you played in the National Football League, as everybody knows. Can you imagine running 20? Could you run 26.2 miles?
That was my question.
Let me tell you, I cannot run 26 miles, especially right now. I'm throughout my whole life, I'm a guy that's a short burst, a 20-yard route, a 30-yard route, and the farthest I probably ran in the game on a play was like 60 yards, 70 yards, 80 yards, like only just a few times. But I never really ran long distance before in my life. I've ran about 2 miles before. It gets tough, but if I practice, I'm sure I could do it. And it would be a slow time per mile.
I think you should look into the camera and commit for next year.
Everyone keeps asking me. Everyone wants me to commit. I can't commit fully, but it's not a no. There is a chance.
Not a no.
There is a chance.
There's a chance.
Chris,
I'm saying there's a chance.
Here we go. I would ask you to spike it, but
no.
I can spike on the desk. A mini spike.
A mini spike.
Ready?
We got a mini spike.
A mini spike for this desk. You ready? A mini Gronk spike. 1, 2, 3.
Boom. Boom.
There we go.
Good job.
A mini spike.
And you didn't break anything.
John, you got a mini spike out of
You're
the
best,
Maxi
Rob.
Man.
Yes. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Great job,
And thanks for all the charity your work you're doing in Boston.
Yes, appreciate it.
We
Thank you.
appreciate you.
And I don't know if Gronk can hear me, but here's my advice on the thing. Don't do it.
All right. I won't do it.
You'll thank me later.
John's telling you not to do it.
You'll thank me later. Don't do it.
Everyone that's ran it before said don't do it.
There you go. So, Carrie, we have quite a lead pack. Listen, all the proper villains are involved in the race right now, which is good. They're through that first 5K at 16:36, led by Sharon Lokedi.
I'm just trying to count. I think we have more than 20 women right here.
Well, luckily they have 35K plus to sort this whole thing out. We always say 26.2 metrically. It's right, 42.185K. We have great help with our statisticians over here. David Monty, is that right? 42.185K? Close enough. So obviously, as we take a break, we don't know who's going to win in the women's race. In the men's race, 87 into Brookline. So that means only Boston left for Marcel Hug. He's made it through Hopkinton, Ashland, Framingham, Natick, Wesleyan, Wellesley, Newton, and into Brookline, which is miles 21.5-ish to 24.7. Eden Rainbow Cooper. Got a little drama coming here, Amanda McGrory.
I think we might. Marcel's looking good. Marcel's strong. He crossed 23 miles at 106.43. He's got an estimated finish time of 116.03. Close to that 115 he was talking about yesterday. But Manuela Schär is chasing Eden Rainbow Cooper hard. She's cut the lead in half so far. And I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, that's why we watch.
excited.
That's why we watch these things, because right now, Hug, as he is so often, he's racing the clock. That's
Marcel
what he
Hug
is.
is racing the clock. He's racing himself. He told me he wanted that 115, and he's racing himself here.
So when you were talking to Manuela Schär and Hoog yesterday, Manuela Schär is like, no technology out there.
None
she
at
doesn't
all.
want to wear a watch. She doesn't want to think. How about Hoog? Is he looking at his watch? Is he making sure that he's within his heart rate and the speed that he wants to be at?
100%. Marcel's got he's got his mile times, he's got his average speeds he wants to hit. He's racing with a cycle computer on his chair, so he can get live speeds, he can get live distance, he can get all of that feedback to keep track of what's going on the course. Manuela just goes in all feel.
She wants to race.
She just wants to race. She just wants to trust her body. So she is chasing Eden Rainbow Cooper with none of that technology.
And you watch, let's say who comes in at 116. That's amazing. He's got a 5-minute lead. Daniel Romachek might run 121 and just get his doors blown off, which is
an incredible time.
Astounding, correct. Elite men's and women's on the right. There's Emma Bates again. We had a big group. She's kind of out there towards the front. And then there's Cisse Lemma, who ran the first 10K at 28:28. Jeffrey Mutai's course record, he ran 29:09. And clearly the rest of the field, which is about 25, maybe 30 seconds back, has decided, you go ahead. We don't trust that you can make it the whole way.
Guess what he has? 2 DNFs and a 30th place here. I know he's a 201 guy, but he has to prove himself here. He can do it. He has the ability to win this race, but can he do it here in Boston? And I know that a lot of these guys, they know that they've raced against each other here or at different places. They need to start thinking about what's going on in front, but they are worrying about each other right now too. Emma Bates, on the other hand, she's been here, done that as well, but such different racing going on. We also saw this last year as well with a big group of the women.
One's a chase pack, the other one's hoping he's fall backpack. Cisse Lemma on the left, comfortably ahead, but trust me, somewhere along this course, things will get uncomfortable. Marcel Hoog, who has, I mean, he had Sho Watanabe there for the first mile.
He did, and we talk about the chair, but also Marcel is an incredible athlete. He is made to be a wheelchair racer, and if you watch him and you watch him push and you watch that stroke, he is right on. His technique it's impeccable. It's like nothing else. He's so low, he is so efficient. He just glides through the wind, and the power transfer coming off of his arms onto the wheels, there's no one else as efficient as he is in the world.
You've raced all of these. Which of these is going to be most impressive? 8 wins in Berlin, 7 in Boston, 6 in New York, 5 in London, 4 in Chicago, or 3 in Tokyo.
That's mean, John.
I know. Usually, John, I feel pretty good about my resume, but you just crushed me.
No, I just want to know which of those, like, because Berlin's a flat course,
yeah.
and New York can be a hard course. Like, which of those is the most important?
What I think is most
impressive
is that he's been able to do all of it. That's what I think really blows me away. They're different courses, different conditions, different weather, and he's just dominant across every terrain. And that's the thing that's most impressive. I've had wins at major marathons. I've never been able to do a back-to-back. Never had a back-to-back win at a major race.
And just so you know, in terms of his racing, like last year he won by 10 minutes and 39 seconds, which was the second largest ever. Twice he's beaten Ernst van Dijk in
on the
photos.
line. Yes.
In photos. So when need be, he can certainly race it. And you saw him come through Kenmore Square, which if you're not familiar with the course, here's what you need to know. He's close to getting home, baby, when you get through Kenmore Square.
25.2 miles with 1 mile to go. Marcel came through at 1:12:32. He is still on that 1:16 pace.
Of course.
Last year, the first man to go under 1:18. This year, he's going to be the first man to go under 1:17.
He went way under 1:17.06 down to 54.
Smashing his course records.
And he's coming through here in what will be another record, which hopefully, let's say, let the man set the pace for everybody else. If he can do it, let's have a fast time from the women as they finish up. And same with the men's elite race, and also for the women's elite race right now. We talked about the $50,000 time bonus. First prize is $40,000. They've raised that 15. Wheelchair pay is getting better.
It is, and I think that's huge. The overall landscape of wheelchair racing, pro wheelchair marathoning in this country has changed so much in the past decade, and it's things like this that are really helping uplift and elevate the sport. The opportunity to talk about this, to show off the incredible skill of these athletes on national television is huge. Marcel looking super, super relaxed coming into the finish, and this is a great position to be in, right? You just get to cruise through. There's nobody in sight. No worry about that final finishing sprint.
That's the best left-hand turn you can make. On to Boylston with a 5-minute lead as he comes down. I turn around from our viewing
Starting to hear
position.
all the cheers behind us.
Right, between the cheers and if you look behind, you're like, oh, look, there's sirens, and then they pulled off, which means when the escorts pulled off, you can just sit and take the cheers, and yet at this point, he just crosses 115. So he is trying to get in under the course. He's got 2 minutes to get
under the course record, and we see him.
Meters.
We see him coming up.
This will be again a smashing of the course record.
We got 200 meters to go. He might get it. He might come in under 116. He will be the first man to run.
He is going to skip the 116s. He's going to go 117.06 to sub 116. Marcel Hug on a roll again. His 7th Boston Championship. This one in the 128th Boston Marathon. And you hear the South Church bells. Those are for Marcel Hug.
Unofficially crossing at 1:15:32.
Well, that's just kooky talk.
Smashing. Last year he broke his course record by a minute. This year by another 30 seconds.
Listen, if it hadn't been that they started in Hopkinton for 100 years, I'm like, are you sure this course is the right
It's
length?
actually 26.2 miles.
But they've got 100 years of history that says, yes, that's how far it is.
I love that when we asked him, why does he keep coming back? He said, I want to be better physically. I want to be better, in the mind. But he also said, I want to break records. Like, that is what drives this guy. When you win as much as you win, it's super fun. But also, it's very hard to kind of one-up yourself every single time.
But he just wants to see how far he can push the sport of wheelchair racing. How fast can he make this piece of equipment go?
And you said it. I mean, his equipment is better than anyone else's, but it's the guy that works the equipment to get him here.
There's an engine there, and he's a pretty incredible engine.
Right.
So this is it's kind of an old question, but it's always kind of fun. Because you have this perspective. And if I said, hey, there's a dude, he's going to go out and run 1:15:30, and you just said, like all downhill, or what? Is he going down Everest without brakes?
If you told me 5 years ago that it was possible for someone to run 26.2 miles in an hour and 15 minutes, I would have told you no way. We're 20 years out from that.
Well, we're actually April 15th, 2024 from now.
Wow.
Maybe he needed to get his taxes in, and he's like, I got to get there right now, Professional races there, you see, out in Framingham, and Lemma is like, we're told there's 30,000 people in this race, but it appears in the men's elite, there's just one dude. He just snapped off a little 4:38, so he continues to run so strong.
Listen, he's run 4:33, 4:46, 4:17, 4:33, 4:38. He's locking in as he passes over 15 kilometers. He doesn't hear anyone but the people that are on the sidelines right now.
He didn't have to wrestle with anybody to get to his water station, his drink station. And I am all for great racing, and it would be wonderful. But if this guy's going to go out and he's going to run this and destroy people, and you want to come run 2:02 or something funny like that, I'm here for it all the way.
Exactly. I mean, he has been devoted since the very first few steps of this race to take over and do what he needs to do to come and figure out how to run Boston. He has figured out how to run other races. He's run the 4th fastest time ever, over 26.2 miles. So clearly you can't underestimate this guy.
Take a look at the women's field on the right. Right in the very back, I think the blonde ponytail is unique, right? That's Dominique Scott, former Arkansas runners there. And I don't see her in there, but we should make mention that Jenny Simpson's out there making a second go of the marathon distance. She tried the Olympic trials, couldn't finish, said that was sort of humbling, sort of embarrassing. She's out here to at least get through the 26.2 today.
Well, we talk about Helen Obiri being one of the most decorated track athletes internationally. So is Jenny Simpson. I mean, here in America, she is probably the best middle distance runner we've ever produced. She's now transitioning to the road. She had a good half marathon in New York leading up to this, but she's still figuring it out. And I do maybe see that yellowish orange kit of hers a little ways back.
All right, Amanda McGrory, that appears to be an athlete struggling.
This is Eden Rainbow Cooper has hit the hills. This is her second Boston Marathon, so she knows what this is like. But she took a very, very different strategy this year with the race. Last year, she ran super conservative. She hung with the pack. She tried to stay in with that group. But she's now training with Catherine de Bruyne's coach, Arno Mol, out of the Netherlands. And Eden's move for this race is very similar to what we saw Catherine do at the New York City Marathon in 2023, just this past November. She went out hard and banked on holding that gap. And all Eden needs to do right now is hold on. Manuela started cutting the lead behind her. She was down to about 40 seconds at one point, but it started opening back up again. Manuela broken away from third, fourth, and fifth, that pack behind her. She's only a minute out behind Eden Rainbow Cooper, but Eden's holding the gap.
And so often we say if somebody goes out really fast and they kind of blow up, they go, oh, that was not the smartest move. In this case, that's the smartest move for her to win, is to go out fast.
I had breakfast with Susanna Scaroni a couple
Name
weeks
dropper.
ago. I know, right? But this is right after she pulled out because of the injury, and I asked her, who is it that I need to watch? And she told me Eden.
And
no one?
Just had our second
Danielle Romanchuk coming
wheelchair
through.
finisher.
First American finisher, second in the men's wheelchair division.
And he crosses in 1:20:30-ish.
Which is a very respectable time.
Respectable. That's amazing. And as we said, he just sometimes it's a tip of the hat, right? At some point you go, okay, can't deny class. And the guy that went through did it 5 minutes better than you did. Rainbow Cooper.
Catching a little bit of a break on one of those short downhills.
So I think
towards the end.
right, people do the planking and that hurts. Like how, when you get into that crouch position downhill to how much your core and thing, like how painful can that be to sit in that position?
So racing chairs are definitely not built for comfort. They are
Right.
built for speed. And so all of these athletes are tucked up underneath. And as you see Eden coming past here, her feet are up underneath the seat. So you sit with your feet to your butt and your chest down to your knees. You're as compact as you can possibly be. That's a hard way to sit for almost 2 hours. And then when you're coasting down the hills, you want to be in tight. You want to pull your elbows in. And so trying to stay loose when you've got everything pulled in tight like that is also tricky.
Cisse Lema on the left. He's through 15K in 42:43. Minute 21 lead. Talby's there in second. Kotut also right there. Evans Chibet, Kotut's teammate, both coached and trained together. Gabrielle Gay in that pack. Albert Corrier in that pack. Mohamed Essa in that pack. Eden Rainbow Cooper. It just goes to show, too, because we saw her at the top of that hill where it's the very hardest. It looks like she can barely go, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, well, she looks fine
Now she looks like she's cruising. And it's amazing how much you can tell looking at the way that she is pushing and what her arms look like and what that stroke cadence looks like. However, I may have spoken too soon. Manuela Schär just cut that lead to 30 seconds.
Well,
Eden is struggling a little bit up these hills. Manuela's done this race a lot. She is a 4-time winner here, and every time she's finished since 2017, she's won it. If she makes it to the finish line, she's winning the race.
This is one of the few times where we've seen a picture of Eden Rainbow Cooper in front like that where you can turn around and you could see Manuela. So if she turns around over her shoulder, suddenly she's like, oh, company.
She's right there. And when you're that person chasing, when you're right behind, that just gives you that extra little push. When you see the competitor ahead of you come into view, it makes you feel like you can do it. They're right there, and it gives you something to chase for. It's harder to hold the gap from the front when you can't see the pack behind you.
She has not had traffic for 20-some-odd miles, but she may get into some now.
You can see a little bit of fatigue. Early on in the race, she was really getting a lot of lift off the back of her wheels, and her stroke's looking a lot shorter now. That's the fatigue, and that's her tightening up. Going from climbing the hills, tightening up, down the hills, coasting. Manuela's running a 5:42-mile pace at 21 miles. That's decent climbing those hills.
And to think, in her first Boston Marathon last year, she finished 25 minutes back. She did 2:06:45, and so this is going to be a huge improvement.
That's a significant improvement, right?
Listen, that's like they always say, right? You can lose, the race, don't lose the lesson. And it appears she learned a lot from 23 to 24. So we'll see if she can make it home. Hannah Storm is with the champion in the men's race, who is a class by himself. Hannah?
Yeah, I'm with Marcel Hug, and it's an honor to interview literally one of the most dominant athletes in the world in his sport. I know you had 1:15 in your sights, but it did not come easily today, Marcel. Take us through that big challenge that you face.
Yeah, it was, as always, here in Boston, it's a challenging course. Luckily, the conditions were perfect today. So from the beginning, I went very fast, had a new top speed in the downhill. Afterwards, it was just a time trial, a race against the clock.
I can see that if you could show folks, your hand is a little bit torn up there. So you had a crash early on. What happened there?
Yeah, I had a crash. I think it was at the fire station corner. It just had way too much pressure on the steering, so it was my fault. Didn't steer properly. Then I went into the barriers, but luckily the material was okay, so I could get up and go forward.
Yeah, so you were able to regroup. It's the most difficult, I think, to break a record when you're racing against yourself. So what benchmarks were you setting? How did you achieve this today?
Yeah, I had this schedule in my mind where I have to be 5K after 10K and so on. So I saw that I was under the schedule, and so that gave me an extra motivation.
How do you maintain such excellence and motivation?
Don't know. It's just it's about passion. And yeah, I love doing races, especially here in Boston. It's always a great experience with all this crowd here. They are just amazing. They give so much energy here. It's really amazing. So I want to thank you, Boston. I love you.
Well, they love you too. 7th Boston win. The Swiss Silver Bullet hits the mark once again. John?
Hannah, wonderful interview, but I'm stuck by the whole thing where he went, oh, and I crashed. We're going to have to touch on that with Amanda McGrory when we get back. More from the 128th Boston Marathon right after this. '28th Boston Marathon presented by Bank of America. 3 races still out on the course. One's close to finishing up. Women's wheelchair, elite athlete Eden Rainbow Cooper is out front. Cissé Lema in the men's race, top left, is really out there all by himself. And then we have quite the squad out there in Natick right now, Carrie.
Yes, we do. I love it. We love seeing numbers. It's going to make for a fiery last half of this race, but Lema really going for it. I can't believe he is this far up right now.
So Marathon Monday here in Boston is always the 3rd Monday in April. But Maria and Ed, let's just say that I have not lived in New England for 25 years. Tell me why this day and why we're here.
Nice setup, John. We appreciate that. Well, we're here because the Boston Marathon is always held on Patriots Day here in Massachusetts.
And if you don't live here in Boston, Patriots Day has nothing to do with the football team. It marks the shot heard around the world, the Battle of Lexington and Concord back on April 19th of 1775. And that, of course, kicked off the American Revolution. In fact, this morning...
Going back to London after this, she's racing in London in 6 days on home soil. But can you imagine what it'd be like to start that race with a major win at the Boston Marathon?
So she has beaten Manuela Schär before. That was last year in Berlin, so it's not completely foreign territory, but this would be, as you said, her very first major championship win. See all 3 races there. Let's focus in on Cissé Lema in the men's race. 20 kilometers in. As he passes that, and he's got plenty of time. He's getting ready to get into the Scream Tunnel. Evans Chibet right there. Yeah, I love the Scream Tunnel. I'm going to borrow from my dear friend Nicole Briscoe. They're in the Scream Tunnel. Wellesley, let's make out, America. So he goes through 20K in 57:13. Evans Chibet a year ago came through 20K in 59:02. So he is out there and he is spicy. And Carrie, we have a 20-way tie for first in the women's race.
We do. And you know what? The woman on the right is the woman that we highlighted in the very beginning, Edna Kiplagat. She has that orangey yellow top with pink shorts on. You know, a lot of people in this field in particular said if they can run with Edna, they know they'll have a solid day. Last year, nobody knew this. I talked to her agent, Brendan O'Reilly. He said, last year she finished 30th. I said, what the heck happened to her? She's in 85% of her races at the World Marathon Majors, she's been in the top 10. 76% of them in the top 5. He said no one knew because she doesn't make excuses. She had a fever. She was sick for a long time before, but she wanted to run this race because it's so important. So for a woman like that to be right here in this lead pack, I think a lot of people are looking at her.
And she really, an astonishing record when you think she was the world champ in 2011.
Exactly.
And still out being world class right there. We go back to the women's wheelchair race, and I think at this point we could say that Eden Rainbow Cooper is safe.
I think she is safe. She crossed 40K at 1:29:59. And what I love about watching Eden Rainbow Cooper race, she's racing like she's got nothing to lose, because she doesn't. She is so new. She's got less than a dozen marathons under her belt. And she went out today and just laid it all on the line. No fear. And it's so fun to watch her race like this. Coming through with an estimated finish at 1:34:55, so a little bit off the course record, but still an impressive finish. And you can see her starting to get a little uncomfortable. She's feeling those hills. Every couple of strokes now, you see her taking a break. She's been adjusting more in her seat, in her position. Her pace is slowing down a little bit.
But my guess is we could contrast last year, you go 2:06, and you get to mile 25. Here, I imagine that last mile comes really quick. And last year, I imagine that last mile is like, why is this the longest mile in the history of the world?
I think no matter how good you feel, that last mile feels like the longest mile on the course.
Look back, that's a really good thing too, right? You look behind you and like, I think she's far enough back there that I can hold her off.
Eden crossed 25.2, so 1 mile to go at 1:31:32. She's been running just over 4-minute miles.
And she looked, is that a hand cycler there behind her? Yeah, so you look all of a sudden like, wait, there is somebody there. And you, okay, wait, that is not my competition in this particular race.
That is not.
But it might give you pause.
For a second, absolutely, especially when you've got someone coming up around you that fast. But Eden's had no one in her sight almost the entire race. She started off fast down that hill with a big, big unexpected gap, and she's been able to hold on to it.
So she's in her happy place.
I imagine this is going to turn some heads and change some plans for the Paris Marathon as well, coming up in just a couple months at the Paralympic Games.
That's coming up in about, I think, 134 days to that marathon. The difference for all of those athletes, and we don't want to take away from her coming down here, but quickly, she'll probably race in a 400 and a 1500 and a bunch of different races.
Most likely. Wheelchair racers tend to have a little bit more of a range. It's easier to train for multiple distances. So she'll likely run some track events as well as the marathon at the Paris Paralympic Games. Assuming she qualifies. Qualifiers haven't happened yet for any team besides the U.S.
And she's going to make that famous turn left onto Boylston.
Cue the tears, John. You know I got him right now.
Turning around to see her come around that turn. I can't wait.
How about this? Because you've had this happen to you. You haven't won. Now you win, and now they introduce you, and forever they're going to introduce her as the Boston Marathon champion.
Marathon champion.
Like that seems like that would be a goosebump moment. Like when you go to Chicago and they go Chicago Marathon champion, right? That's still got to get you a little warm and fuzzy.
And to come into a career with this much success so early, absolutely incredible.
Well, it turned out you said from the front that you said from the beginning she needed to go to the front and go as hard as she could and lay waste to anybody behind her because that was her chance to win. And that strategy turns out to be the right one for Eden Rainbow Cooper.
See her coming up to the finish now, and she's picked up the speed. Look at her go now. She knows that she's got the win.
Well, she can see the
taking
tape.
that last little bit of a finishing sprint.
So it's so great. After all that effort, now you get all that elation. Eden Rainbow Cooper. She is the winner of the Boston Marathon for the first time and her first World Marathon Major Championship.
At 22 years old.
22.
Look at that emotion. What I love about her race is she went for it from the gun. She didn't look back. And that,
Not at all.
At 22 years old, to know that you have a 4-time champion racing behind you in Manuela Schär, that is scary enough.
And the Paralympic champion.
Yes.
In Madison De Rosario.
Woo. She was second here last year.
Also had won in New York.
Yep.
So.
But the confidence that it takes to go out hard like that.
Like, what did I just do?
I know.
Oh.
This is one of the best post-race reactions I've ever seen.
Yeah. A lot of hard work right there.
1:35.11 for Eden Rainbow Cooper's unofficial finish time.
It's good to surprise yourself sometime. And there's something to be said too about I think I can, and then I did. Right? There's a little hurdle in that to come through. So our congratulations to Eden Rainbow Cooper out into the men's race. Cissé Lema goes through the half in 1 hour and 19 minutes. That is the fastest ever in Boston. There you see behind him Evans Chebet, the defending champ. He's got a crew here, and yeah, let's bring in Josh Brogadier, who's in the lead moto with these guys. And Josh, I thought maybe you were going to have more people to talk about, but right now you just got one dude in your sights.
Yeah, it's just Cissé Lema. He is so far in front. I can tell you, John, from my vantage point, I can't even see any of the other runners. I mean, it's as if they're not even on the course. There was a kid in a yard in Wellesley who was racing him a short time ago. He was the only one I could actually see keeping up, which was fairly impressive for a short time. He did it safely. But the point is, there's nobody even close to him. His stride looks great. And when we went through the Scream Tunnel in Wellesley, all the Wellesley College students were screaming, and I think more out of shock with, wait, is this guy the only guy? Rather than the normal adoration that we hear from the Scream Tunnel. But in all seriousness, he's looking good, and he's so far ahead. And I had a whole lot of other guys to talk about, John, but to your point, it's all Cissé Lema right now of Ethiopia.
Well, if you just park yourself in a minute and 49 seconds, they'll run right by you, and you're going to have all kinds of people talking about it. Now, contrast that with the women's elite race, and Naoko Funiyama. She's got all kinds of people to talk about. I don't know who she's going to pick out. Or you're just, Naoko, you just talk en masse, whatever you got for me.
Has been incredible, John. This is just absolutely incredible, John. They've been running in a pack of about 20 wide for basically the entire race, and they're running so tight that when they go to get water, they have to actually weave through each other to get that water. Sometimes, like, you almost think that they're gonna like run into each other trying to get water, but they've been very careful. They've been staying in the pack. Emma Bates has, for the most part, led this pack, but I don't think anybody's taken her bait in terms of she's trying to separate herself, but nobody's coming with her. So you see her tucking back in. So this is really exciting. And as Carrie mentioned earlier, you just know in the backs of these women's minds is that kick that Hellen Obiri has at the end. And they know they have to have enough fuel in the tank to keep up with her right at the end.
It's going to be an exciting last few miles here, but this is playing right into Hellen Obiri's wheelhouse. She did this last year. She's just chilling right now. And a lot of people will look at Hellen Obiri and say, look at how, so much movement in her. She's right in the middle right there. Lots of arm movement. Her head is everywhere. That's how she runs. So don't get nervous.
Our compliments early on to Mary Kate Shea. She said she had a deep race and a fast race, and boy, does she. Usually somebody here is not at their best, but right now all the women are running strong, and we'll have more racing here at the 128th Boston Marathon right after this. Hannah's got for more than half the century. Congratulations to Larry. So glad to call him a colleague and friend. Here are the races he's calling internationally and the ones we're calling right now. Men through Wellesley. Cissé Lema went through the half in 1 hour and 19 minutes. And on the women's side, this race, we thought the last couple of years were going to be great because it came down to mile 25 with a group. This right now is unprecedented. 20 ladies still racing very much in the race, very much in the running to be the Boston Marathon champ. We have two elite races that have been decided. Marcel Hu ran away with the men's race, and Hannah is with our women's champion, Eden Rainbow Cooper. Hannah?
She has emerged. This 22-year-old from Great Britain absolutely burst on the scene, made history, too, as the first woman from Great Britain to win the Boston Marathon. But, Eden, I have to ask you, when you woke up this morning, did you envision this?
Absolutely not. Last year for Boston, it was my first Boston last year, and it was a really, really tough race for me. So I just wanted to come here and finish the race and just have fun. So first place, I can't believe it.
I mean, you attacked this race from the very beginning. Did you realize how far ahead you are, and at what point Manuela Schär was trying to chase you down? She couldn't.
I had no idea. I know that first big hill is scary, so I just went for it. I know there's no corners, and as long as I could keep my line, I could go fast. I have no idea what speed I hit. I was too scared to look. But from there on out, it was just I needed to stay in my rhythm and focus on what I've been doing in training, and it worked.
Your story is so inspiring. You come in here without sponsors, correct? What did it take to be here today?
I mean, just to get my own racing chair, it took, I did a fundraiser about 1.5 years ago, and so many of my friends and family were able to give me some money to help put towards my chair, and I've been so lucky to have so much support around me. But yeah, it's a difficult sport and an expensive sport.
Really quickly, where'd you get your name, Rainbow?
It's my mother's last name. It comes from Vikings.
I love it. Pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. Eden, good luck in the London Marathon. And fingers crossed in Paris?
Fingers crossed. Thank you very much.
Great to meet you. John?
Oh, a terrific story. One of many, because really, if you run this marathon and there's 30,000 people, there's 30,000 stories. Hers happens to be a championship one. Back with more racing when we come back here on ESPN2 and WCVB. The Boston Marathon, men's and women's elite races still out on the course and waiting to be decided. Cisse Lemma, his 5Ks, he's through 25K with about a 2-minute lead. 14:21, 14:07, followed out with a little 14:15, 14:30, 14:31. Most of those would win the turkey trot in your neighborhood on Thanksgiving morning.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Well, he just ran his last mile in 4:38. He was well under that course record pace by about 40 seconds at the halfway mark. I mean, this man is flying.
Course record held by Jeffrey Mutai of just over 2 hours and 3 minutes. One of the chase group, which is now 2:21 back. Evans Chebet's there, his teammates, Brian Cotot, Albert Carrier, John Carrier's there, is also Haftu Tekla, who I found on Friday, and I just asked him, what makes Boston unique? And he said, well, one, the course is very difficult. There are no pacemakers. And he said, and the prize money. So, you know, they always say you never think about money on the starting line, and then it's the first thing you think of after you get through the finish line.
Well, and I think that is a good point. You said, like, they're not thinking about time so much here. I mean, yes, there is a course record bonus, but they come here and it is championship-style races, no pacers. You're just out there running against each other. So, yeah, but they got to get it going if they want to race against Lemma for the win.
Yeah, and with a 2-minute and 22-second lead, 2:21, I think at some point those guys behind Lemma do have to think about time, because right now doesn't look he's coming back. That all changes though when we get to the Newton Hills and Heartbreak Hills. So maybe they're going to hold their water and see what happens. But if that's how it is, once that comes, they're really, really going to have to go. Take a look at the women's group there. Emma Bates still out in front, just as she was before, and she's got company, Helen O'Beary, which is good company. It's just fast company.
Well, you could tell Helen doesn't like to necessarily just be back in the pack. She's always kind of sniffing that lead, even though we talk about her sitting and kicking. But Emma Bates is one of those athletes as well. She is chomping at the bit to have a huge, huge breakthrough, and she's coming from that injury.
It is so exciting to see such a huge pack coming through. My favorite part about making this transition to commentating versus being out there is getting this view of the race and getting to see how all these women are running and working together.
Yeah, right now there's and they haven't really changed a bunch. Emma has decided that she's comfortable up there the whole way. She hasn't decided to drop back, which is curious, but that also I think speaks to the weather out here. It was about 50 degrees when they started, and the wind is behind them, pushing a little bit. It's kind of gentle. So you have that. And so leading probably isn't quite as exhausting as it could be if you were running into a 12-mile-an-hour headwind.
Right now I think they're all pretty comfortable, 5:28 per mile pace right now. You know, one of the women that we've been watching a lot of this race is Sarah Hall. Her husband has the fastest American time ever run on this course. Ryan Hall ran 2:04 here on this course, and she has yet to really nail it too. I mean, she is a very good marathoner, has made the World Championship team for the U.S. She did not make the U.S. team for the Olympics. She was 5th at the Olympic trials just 10 weeks ago, but she's up there. She knows this course, and she is bound and determined. It's her birthday today. We've said that early on, but Sarah Hall still up in the lead.
Good pack there, and a pack of one in the men's race. And he just keeps kind of pushing it out there a little bit. Up to, we said, over the 25K mark, he was up by 2 minutes and 21 seconds. And then there you see the chase pack. And at this point, they are chasing. I'm not really sure they're hoping he's going to fall back, but that's led there by Evans Chibet. And you saw Albert Carrier, a former New York Marathon champ, was there, kind of a pinkish top when he was going as well. And if you're having trouble hearing me, it's because those women are now running through the Scream Tunnel, which means there are more women all in. This is just girl power, and I am here for it.
Yes, it is, and Emma Bates is high-fiving everybody.
Ed Maria, these are your people, and they're out of hand right now.
They are celebrating, John. They are doing their thing. Obviously, this is Wellesley College, and they're all Wellesley College students as they go roaring through. This is the Wellesley Scream Tunnel. It's a halfway point. Favorite spot along the course for many Boston Marathon runners running in the race. Not only the women, the men, everybody.
Yes, it gets really loud there, almost raucous, if we could say that. And it's really energetic. We can almost hear it from here. The Wellesley College students, they love to scream at the top of their lungs for each of the tens of thousands of runners to reach that midway point of this great Boston
Handing
Marathon.
out KISS stickers, blowing bubbles. Students get bubbles and stickers for free before the race. So, John and Amanda and Carrie, can you imagine you've already gone halfway through the marathon and you're getting this energy lift?
Well, here's what I want to know from you two, because the elites don't have time to stop there.
No.
Right? But we get into the masses, right? And they take full advantage of that thing.
It's epic. It is something you really want to see. It really is.
It's selfie center over there after they start screaming. Yeah.
Usually you got to pay extra for that kind of thing. But no, not here at the Boston Marathon. It comes with the price of admission. Got the drink station that they've come through. It's about the only time the pack breaks up, Carrie, is because they get their water bottle. But that becomes really an amazing thing and a hard thing to do with that kind of crowd, to make sure you get your water bottle.
Well, we talk a lot about Helen Obiri. This is something that she's had to work on in practice, is getting those bottles.
So they are, you get their hydration modules fueled up, ready to go. They got half a race to go. We'll stick around. First half was fun. We'll be here for the back half on ESPN2 WC. Welcome back to our coverage here on ESPN2 WCVB of the Boston Marathon. John Anderson along with Carrie Tellefson and Amanda McGrory. Lovely day for racing here. Remember, it was rainy, a little warm, but rainy last year. And this year, boy, it's one of the better days that we've had. Comfortable running conditions, a breeze that's anywhere from negligible to a bit of help. So the runners are out there. The men's field out front, Cisse Lema is on record pace, and way as he goes to mile 18, he's coming into the first of the really kind of tough hills that he's going to have to negotiate, and that will be the opportunity for those in that chase pack to come and try to get him if they choose to do so. And on the women's, they're about 3 minutes off of record pace, which maybe is why we have so many of them there.
And here we have Sharon Lokedi. You can see her now clear on the right side of the screen there. We got to mention her name. She and Helen Obiri right next to each other. They're very good friends. They don't live next to each other anymore. Helen is in Colorado. Sharon spends most of her time in Kenya, but they want to run well together today because that will give them a leg up, if you could say, on their Kenyan team for the Olympic Games in Paris this summer. But yes, what a big pack right now. They're not running real fast. All these ladies have run this pace before. I think that what's happening now is the mind is starting to work. Before, they're just getting through these early miles, making sure they're getting their fueling, their hydration. But now their mind is starting to turn on. What is going to happen? Who is going to make the move? Somebody needs to start pushing this pace because they're playing right into Helen Obiri's hands.
Sharon Lokedi, a fine runner at the University of Kansas, won an NCAA championship in the 10,000 meters there when she was there. And you talked about that. So just on the right, I believe that's Des Linden, right?
Yeah,
Still right there hanging on, a former champ 2018. And she talked about how it's not just fitness here. And I guess it's that way with any marathon, but especially here in Boston. She's like, your head and your heart has to be in the right place.
I think most times when you run this race, your legs are shot before you hit the half marathon. Those downhills kill you. And then you have to start believing that I can get up those 4 big hills that are coming. And so, yes, Des is spot on. I mean, I think she even said if she could go back and do something else with her career or in the future, it would be a sports psychologist, because that is what is so important when you're an athlete, as you know, Amanda.
100%. We talk about this so much that when you reach this level of competitive athletics, the physical differences between athletes, they're really negligible. It's all about having your mind in the right place and being strong enough to overcome how bad you hurt after 26 miles to make it through the finish.
And I think it's fun. Let's just keep it on Des for a second. She said it's her 11th time here. People keep kind of saying that, and she kind of thinks it's funny. But that is why she's back time and time again, because she knows how to handle this course both physically and mentally.
And Des has gotten herself all the way back up into that lead pack, but it is in so many sports. You just put whatever distance it is. In football, it's 100 yards. In marathon, it's 26.2 miles, and it's the 4 inches between the ears that makes all of the difference. Naoko Funiyama, lead moto with the women, and I mean she's with the women. You've got them all.
And it has been really fun to be riding with this pack here. And I love the fact that Des caught up. I know you guys talked about it. Des knows this course better than anyone else. I talked to her the other day about why she kind of sometimes is running off to the side, and that's because she's running the tangents. She is cutting the shortest course possible. She said, I am only going to run 26.2 miles. Everyone else can run more if they want to, but I am only going to run 26.2. So that's why you see her sometimes off to the side, making, taking a little bit of a different line than everyone else. Now, I do love how relaxed and strong Emma Bates looks. She told me that she's got a real chip on her shoulder with the injury, missing Olympic trials. She was so bummed about it. And there's actually more to the story. She had bought this house, this lovely old house, about a year ago. And when the plumbers sort of cut into the walls to try and fix it up, they found asbestos. So that spilled all over the house. She had to throw away all her clothes, her furniture. They had to move her entire family, the goats, the dogs, the cats, all the animals. And finally she settled in, but she believes maybe that stress led to the injury, or, you know, just exacerbated the situation. So she was really stressed out. So she said, you know what? I am so happy that I am able to run the Boston Marathon, and you bet she's gunning for a title today.
All right, now, I don't need to tell you this, but I will anyway. With that much of a race, don't go anywhere, because we're going to need to visit with you again. And while that race sorts itself out, of many talented women, Hannah has one of her own to go one-on-one with right now. Hannah?
The true trailblazer and a very, very important person in the history of the Boston Marathon, Marilyn Bevans, who was a marathon in under 3 hours right here back in 1975. What were the challenges facing young black women who wanted to do distance running at the time?
Well, one challenge is a stereotype. Well, blacks, runners, supposed to be sprinters and fast, and then you have distance runners. That was kind of odd, but I enjoy running and I didn't have any speed.
And you started running with the men, correct?
I started running with the Baltimore Road Runners. They got me started. They helped me in training as far as my first marathoning, and I will always remember them and respect them and appreciate what they did for me in my running career.
Now, 2 years later, you became the first black American woman to actually win a marathon, which you did in Maryland, and then the first to medal as a runner-up here in Boston in 1977. What do you remember about that day, Marilyn?
1977 was a good year. And to come in second, it was just surprises me. And I enjoyed the notoriety, but also it let other young women see that black women or women, all women, whatever race, can also run and run the marathon well.
And where are we in terms of minority participation in distance running in this country?
I think it's going up. I really do. I think people like the fancy shoes and like to get out there and have company and really work on your physical fitness, keep your weight down, make some friends. It really has a lot to offer that way.
Okay, you're going to make the rest of us feel bad. How much do you still run? I know you still run, right?
At 74, I don't run as much as I used to. I get a lot of injuries. I got to understand you can't do everything. You got to be careful. But I'm still running, and I still enjoy running.
And you'll always be an inspiration, Marilyn Bevans. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the race and John.
All right, thank you, Hannah. Women came through the half marathon at a time of 1:12:53. You talked about playing into Helen O'Beary's hands as a track race. A year ago it was a minute faster. So again, they're not. It's not a drag race. It never is. But well, there is one on the men's side. But this is a case where nobody's going to be you're not going to shake anybody at this kind of pace.
Well, Googie Cooper is now up front. She's been 9th, 3rd, 2nd, and 7th. And then there's also a woman that's been here 11 times, as we've talked about, and she's started to make her move. She's not messing around out there. We talked about tangent. She's not running any more than she has to. She locks in. This woman knows how to run this course. She has won here, and you better believe she would love to win again.
Ran her first race here in the marathon in 2007.
Yeah.
And then said she wasn't sure if she was going to commit after the Olympic trials because she ran in Orlando back in February 3rd. And she said her father, who's having some health problems, he's fighting some Alzheimer's, he said to her, I can't wait to watch you run in Boston. She's like, oh, I guess I'm running Boston.
Yeah. Well, you know what I love about Des is, everyone kind of sees this like, she can have dry sense of humor, right? She can put it out there and just say it how it is. But she loves this sport, and she gives all of herself to it, and she's very passionate about it. She wants to be here. She wants to perform. She wants to do well for her sponsors, her family, her team, all of it. So, props to her for coming back out time and time again. But I was touching a little bit on Googie Cooper, who's up in front. Mary has been here and done so well, and a lot of times because she's been maybe 9th or 7th, she gets overlooked. Well, she's been 2nd and 3rd here before. She's coming off of a PB. She just ran 1:07:38 for the half marathon in March at the Rome Half, and she looked me straight in the eye and she said, I am ready and I want to run well, better than I ever have. Well, if you've been 2nd here before, it's pretty good.
And so far she shows that. As far as I know, Des is the only woman here running to the finish line so she can get to her podcast. Right?
Well,
she's got work to do this afternoon.
Shout out to Kara, shout out to Des.
Yeah.
You guys are killing it.
I don't know the rest of them if maybe that's the case, but it's certainly an interesting, I'd say it's an interesting mix, but it's the entire mix of all of them that are in there. Helen O'Beary is in there, Emma Bates is in there, Sarah Hall, Luke Cady, Belletti, Jurga, Yeshina in there. Judith Carrier, who's been 2nd at a World Championships. In Berlin, in Eugene. I know the difference between those two cities, my bad. So it is a really talented group that's in there.
It is. Let's just highlight the woman in the orange there, Ababel Yeshina. She was 2nd in 2022. Last year, she was getting ready to move and she got clipped, or her feet got clipped. She fell and placed 4th. And I know that 2nd place, it said on her Instagram, that left a sour taste in her mouth. What do you think it left when she fell and finished 4th? She's hungry.
She's back in the fight of that for sure. Well, on this day of marathon celebration, we want to take a moment, as many have over the last few months, to mourn the death of world record holder Kelvin Kiptum. 25-year-old Kenyan died in a car accident in Kenya in February, just months. Critically acclaimed documentary 26.2 to Life brings us behind the scenes. A group of men training for a marathon, but with a major twist. The runners are inmates at San Quentin Prison. 26.2 to Life now streaming on ESPN+. And as we look at the men's and women's elite races, I want to let you know too, the Red Sox have started their annual Patriots Day game over at Fenway. Cutter Crawford getting the start for the Sox. They're in the first inning. Long way to go that one, less to go here in the marathon. They're over at Fenway Park. And I always like to know, like, people think, oh, Fenway Park, it's such an old baseball stadium. The race is like 25 years older than Fenway Park. It makes Fenway Park look new.
Well, there's lots of history on the course And I just love every minute of the different way these races are going right now. 2 minutes and 49 seconds up on the men's side.
As the women get through Wellesley, they're on their way to Heartbreak Hill, or Hills. Cisse Lema, he is in the midst of it. And right now, handling it. His lead, 2 minutes and 49 seconds at the 35K mark, which means there's only about 7K to come through if you're going to catch him. So the race is about to be great, and we will see how Lema handles Heartbreak Hill. For more on those dastardly uphills and equally dastardly downhills when your quads are screaming at you, it's Ed Maria.
Well, you know, John, as we watch the runners go through, you've run this race. What is harder? Are they the hills in Newton, or is that hill when you come out of Newton Lower Falls and then head up to Newton Wellesley Hospital, which kind of sets you up for the hills of Newton?
All of
it. Okay.
Every single one of them. I love how John just said hills plural.
Yeah.
Because that's the point.
So if you don't know exactly where they are, between the 20th and the 21st mile marks, Heartbreak Hill, the name itself actually comes from years ago, 1936 at the Boston Marathon. The defending champion, John Kelly, passed the leader, Tarzan Brown, right at the Newton Hills, right at the point, virtually right there. Then he goes behind him, gives him the pat on the back. The gesture lit a fire under Brown, who then roared back and won the race. And in the Boston Globe the next day, the story read, the headline read, broke Kelly's heart at the hill. Thus, it's become Heartbreak Hill.
Right, so that's the backstory. But if you've run it, it is aptly named. At that point, not for the pros, but for everybody else, and maybe for the pros, it's mentally and physically so challenging. You've got about 20 miles under your belt, and then you're climbing that, and it's a slow, long hill.
And the crest is up at Boston College. And when you come out of Boston College into Cleveland Circle and then work yourself back into the Citadel. You know, guys, one thing I've noticed as I've watched this course, it has been an absolutely beautiful day, and there were millions of people watching the race along the way, which is really nice.
My thought is it's a beautiful day. Why would you want to spoil it by running this far?
Stop it. Speak for yourself,
So listen,
right, Amanda?
Absolutely.
I would like to make this clear. I love track and field. I love marathoning. I love running. I have a passion for it. I have a passion for not doing it as well. I admire everyone that goes out there, whether they're going to run 2:03 or 5:03. It's just really a long way. And the other thing that I've noticed, none of these people are stopping. They're just running the whole time. They just don't ever stop. They just keep going. We're going to keep going too right after this here on the 128th Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America, ESPN2, WCVB TV. It's Cisse Lema's day right now. We're all just living in it. Run really well on flat courses and had not done well when it got into things that contained hills. The 33-year-old from Ethiopia. He's got 3 DNFs on his resume. 4, excuse me. Tokyo, the marathon in 23 last March. Boston, twice, and the Tokyo Olympic Games when so many people dropped out because it was 1,000,000 degrees out when they came through there. So Cisse Lema running on his own. And I don't know that Josh Brogadier thought he was going to be having a one-on-one session today when he got into his lead moto, but that's what it's become. And he's here with his latest report from up front with Lema. Josh?
Yeah, John, a couple things I've observed. First of all, Cisse Lema twice now has gotten regular cups of water. This is not something I always see because he also had his water bottle. He's been making those stops as well. One thing we observed as he was coming down through Boston College, which was around mile 21, he's shaking out his wrists. First his right wrist and now both wrists, just kind of loosening them up. I have no idea if that has anything to do with cramping or just kind of staying loose. But as you said, he's been running this race the entire time. Now, as you know, the downhills are alive with the sound of music of the spectators as much as the hills they are. He's about to get into Cleveland Circle. He's going to hear a lot of rattling and a lot of cheering right now. There's a ton of Boston College students over here on the left. They are enjoying themselves. And Cisse Lema all on his own. While the T goes by, the green line, this is a great spot to be a spectator. And as a competitor, he's got to jump over these tracks here for a second. You don't want to stumble on the tracks that has sometimes befallen even the finest runners on this course. But yes, Cissé Lema all on his own, shaking out his wrists occasionally, having a couple cups of water, and certainly having a day.
All right. Thank you, Josh. Cleveland Circle. That means he's about 4 miles from home. Just got through 35K. I mean, he's impressive. So, Carrie, like there's times where we see marathoners, they make a mistake because they let a guy get away from him.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, wait, we can't catch up. I feel like this case, Lema's just been better than everybody by a lot.
I do too. I mean, I think that he set out to do this. We've talked about him as if he could be that guy that breaks that 2-hour barrier. But listen, we've seen it. In 2014, we saw when Meb Keflezighi and Ryan Hall, they decided to look at it. They looked at each other and they said, we got to chase this guy down. So it could happen here, but he's pretty far out.
So through 35K, Lema 142.56, which projects out to about 204.06, which would be a minute off of the record of 203.02 by Jeffrey Mutai. So there you see what Josh was talking about, shaking out his arms a little bit, trying to stay loose. There behind him, you see, also in all yellow is Evans Chebet trying to win his 3rd in a row. But right now, that is a tall order. The gap's down to 2 minutes and 14 seconds, so they've gotten a little time on him through the hills, but they still have a lot of work to make up. And while they try to do that, we go over to Hannah Storm, who's got work to do down there by, where are you, Exeter? I don't even know where you are, Hannah. You're just here on the course somewhere.
I'm all over the place.
Yeah,
no, I'm
you
here
are.
at Exeter. Thank you. And I am with the runner-in-chief. And believe me, it takes a lot to earn that title. This is Jeff Dengate of Runner's World magazine. Before we get into how tough it is to qualify here, what are your observations about Lema? You told me moments ago this isn't the type of race we would have seen here 10 years ago.
It used to be strategic racing. There would have been a bunch of guys for 15, 16 miles, and then somebody would make the move. Now they're fearless. The world's best just go after the clock, and they're racing themselves. They're not worried about, you know, what the rest of the field is doing. If they want to go early, they go.
Really impressive so far by a guy who has not finished this race a couple of times. We have 30,000 people racing today, and it's not easy to get into this race. One of the things that distinguishes the Boston Marathon is the qualifying. How much tougher has that become?
The Ethiopian team for the Paris Games. I would think if you go ahead and destroy a really good field in Boston, you make yourself a really big contender to be running in those Paris Games, which for the men are 117 days away, 118 days for the women's field when they participate in the Olympic Marathon in Paris in August 10th for the men, August 11th for the women.
Well, Cissé is coming off of a 2:01 at Valencia in December, and that time that he ran there broke Kelvin Kiptum's, the late Kelvin Kiptum's course record there. So he's very fit right now. Is he rested? That's the question. We're looking back at this.
They look
awesome
fresh.
Pack. Yeah, they do. You know, you can just see it. They're not pressing. They're not pressing. And we've seen this time and time again here on this course, where all of a sudden we have this big pack and then boom, down to 5, then boom, down to 3. So I'm waiting. I'm just waiting. We're seeing there's Emma Bates, top American here last year. She was 5th. She ran the 2nd fastest time ever by an American. And then Sarah Hall starting to fall just a little bit back.
And running in a pack like this makes someone like Hellen Obiri, who has experience on the track, really dangerous. Because she's got that sprint speed and she's got that finishing kick.
Watch it. Sarah Hall drop back low. You see Desi's kind of drop back low. Suddenly, all of a sudden, you feel a little of that February Olympic trials come catch you as you get deep enough into this race. So it will be an exciting finish for our man Lema against the clock. And see if those guys are going to have to turn in to be sprinters to catch him. And then the women's race is just, boy, they're just holding up the drama here.
You're watching the 128th Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America.
Don't look back, Cissé Lema. They might be gaining on you. His last 4 miles carry 5:07, 5:27. That's up the hill. 5:02, 5:06. He's opened a little bit of a window. for the runners behind him. Now that pack that's chasing him isn't much. It's John Courier and it's Evans Chibet, but they're now just a minute and 25 back. Evans has won twice here. John Courier trying to match his brother Wesley and become the first brothers to ever win this race.
John Courier is really excited about where his fitness is and what he is hoping to do in this sport. He says he wants to win this race, and if he follows suit like his brother, Wesley Courier won in LA, came here and won. John Courier has won in LA and wants to win here. He's also been in the top 3 at the Chicago Marathon as well. So he's got great pedigree. He's got a lot of guys that can tell him how to win this race. But I don't know if they left too much time. I don't know if they're going to be able to catch him today.
Going to have to go. They've got less than 5K to track him down. John Courier comes in, ranked 17th in World Athletics World Rankings in the marathon. And his last half, he was 3rd in the United Arab Emirates in 58.50, which was a PB, so he certainly has some fitness. And as we saw last year, as we saw in the beginning of this race, Carrie, there's still that big pack, but Emma Bates has decided to push out in front for a little bit.
Yeah, it makes me a little bit nervous. I mean, Emma is one that doesn't race a lot. She comes into a lot of races not having run in months. But, her last race was last fall in Chicago, about 6 months. But she hasn't really done things that we know of that has put her into this race hurt. She can get this far, but how will those final miles go? I hope they go great for her, but this is what makes me a little nervous. But right here, you can kind of see there's chomping at the bit. They're all trying to scatter to get their water bottles, but people are getting antsy. I can feel it. I don't know, Amanda. I mean, maybe it's just me as an athlete, but I can see the intensity on these athletes. The shoulders are starting to rise. The arms are starting to rise.
It's definitely starting to increase because someone's going to have to make a move soon, or else we're going to come through the whole race with a pack like this. And I think that's what Emma's doing, trying to push off the front a little bit, see who's going to chase her, see if she can push the pace a little bit and make this an honest race.
Well, let's face it. She thinks that, in her prior marathons to this, she was able to run American record pace. That's 2:18, Emily Sisson's pace, who just made her second Olympic team. But if she can run that pace in practice, and time again she's working on that pace, this has been a slow day for her.
Absolutely.
And she's coming in with fresher legs, and it is a pace that isn't going to burn her out. So she's very much now here and going to be in it to the end. So last mile for Lemma, 5:52, his slowest by far coming through. We're going to go out to Josh one more time. Josh, I don't know if the chase pack's going to run out of real estate. I don't know if Lemma can hold him off, but I think right now we have a chance that there could be a race here late.
There could be. I'll tell you what, though, John, from my vantage point, I can only see one runner, and it is Cissé Lemma. Last year, I would describe the race as odd and prime. There was a lead pack of 11 that went down to 7, and then 5, and then 3 in Kenmore Square when we saw Evans Chibet and Benson Capruto and Gabrielle Gay. There is just one man in front of me right now, and that man is Cissé Lemma. He is trying to even the score here, certainly from what we saw last year, and he didn't finish the last time he was out on this course. So if you talk about somebody with a chip on his shoulder and something to prove, I wouldn't bet against him as we come down here into Kenmore Square, John, but I cannot see the other runners at this point. He would have to slow down substantially for them to catch him from my vantage point here as we come down through Kenmore Square. John?
Thank you, Josh. Yeah, well, we had a brief shot there of Courier and of Chibet, and they certainly looked fresher.
They are looking like they are moving. They're working together. You can believe that. And Lemma, he is a little bit more of a boxier guy out there. He's got this shorter stride, but look at the two next to him. They look like they're working hard. They've got a more smooth ride, if you could call it that. They look like they are starting to try to get close, and we can see that motorcycle, the chase pack behind them.
And I want to make a quick correction. I had said that Lemma went 5:52, which would have been drastically slow. David Monty, our researcher, gave me the card, and I read that, and I forgot the part where it said women's mile 18 was 5:52. So congratulations to them, and bad on me. Lemma goes through mile 24 5 minutes, so that's still that is way slower than he's had a series now. The last 5 miles have all been 5 minutes plus. And Courier and Evans, as you said, right now that's the buddy system
for sure
taking over.
We saw this happen last year with Evans and Benson Caputo. They are training partners. They work together. That's what happens a lot. But, I mean, all alone right here out. And we saw it even in the women's wheelchair race. She went for it. Eden went
hard,
for it.
hard
and this
off
is what
the
he's
start,
doing.
and it's the same move. And that gap has shrunk a little bit. He's about a minute and a half ahead right now of that chase pack in second. Starting to tighten up, but I've been so excited to watch Sisay Lema run. Carrie and I were talking about this last night, coming in with the fastest time, one of only 4 men to run sub 2:02, but not doing well on this course historically. And I've been really excited to see if he was going to be able to hold on to this through the hills in that second half when it starts to get really challenging.
Listen, I'm thrilled for the guy, but getting out this far, I have a lot of notes on like Sondre Moen from Norway that I have not been able to get to.
Oh, and he was
right?
so hoping for bad weather, he told me. I mean, he is one heck of a guy, a 205 guy out there.
He's out there. Look at a 209. We had Sergei Tume, who is second in it's his second Boston. He was a DNF in 22. Got a lot of guys in there that we've got some notes on, but our boy Lema has put them all in the rear view.
Yeah, but they look like they're charging. I just don't know if they have enough real estate. You know, one thing that's really cool, I emailed Gianna, his agent, Lema's agent, and he said after Valencia, he took about 2 weeks, and he really just celebrated that awesome race. That was one that he'd been waiting for a long time. It is flat. It is fast. He ran his 2:01 there. But I think that he's now starting to feel that pressure of people wanting someone to break that 2-hour mark. When we saw Kipchoge do it in a staged race, right?
Yep.
This guy has a lot of people watching him now. They were wondering when was his day going to shine? Might be today. This might be the biggest day of his life.
33 years old, again, 2:01.48. That's his fourth fastest time ever, behind Kiptum, Kipchoge, and Kiptum as he comes through.
Mile 25 right there.
He just, like you said, I think this might become more of a real estate situation than it does how fast they're running at this point.
It's like, hold it together. Amanda, you've been out far in races and won races. You have to hold it together. Keep your control.
Just have to stay steady and stay calm. He's on pace to run 2:05.02 right now, which is off-course record, but 5th fastest time ever on this course.
Good shot of Fenway Park there as the runners go by. And I always just say this about a misnomer, and I know they put the pitch clock, and they always talk about a marathon baseball game, blah, blah, blah. The marathon's the fastest thing going. This guy's going to get done in 2 hours and 5 minutes. Last baseball game he went to that lasted 2 hours and 5 minutes.
They're getting better.
On occasion they're getting better, but most time the marathon's way quicker than that.
Yeah,
So
well, the crowds
Lema,
are definitely going to be hearing him, or seeing him now, and he can feel that energy.
Yeah, you can see they're lined up, and you can see the folks there. They know he is in front. You see the Citgo signs on the floor, which on the road, which means the big ones out there through 40K. 1:58.51. His lead is a minute 22. Nothing safe. Gosh knows when a guy can bonk, but he's into Boston. And there's you see the giant Citgo. See it go right in your rearview mirror as he comes by. And Lema, this has been just an outstanding performance from the get-go. Now it's just, can he get to the end?
Well, you said it, John. Anything can happen. We have seen so many athletes get to 200 meters, 100 meters out of a marathon and lock up and not be able to get there. I am not wishing this on Lema, but he has to get through that tape before we can say he has won this race.
Marcel Hug, I felt safe.
Yeah, but Marcel Hug fell and got back up. I mean, things happen.
Things happen.
How do we miss that? The dude
I have no idea how we missed that. But still, a 4-minute gap is a lot different than a minute and 22 seconds. You can close a minute and 22 seconds in a mile.
Yeah. I mean, it would take a lot, but we can see them in the picture right here, and they know Evans Chebet has won this race 2 times, people. He's starting to make distance on 3rd place right now, and he can feel it.
Well, he's left-jawed career, and you can see him in the background, but the problem is that's probably 400 meters back there, right? When you look at that, he's got a good par 4 behind him that he's going to try and close here in the last mile.
One of the interesting things that with Evans Chebet, we talked about, he's not on that list to make the Olympic team for Kenya. You know, he probably had to run a little bit more of a conservative race to be able to prove himself. He didn't want to go out there and do something too crazy. So I wonder if that's why he let him go. They couldn't see him. I mean, a minute lead versus a 2-minute lead sometimes, if you can't see the athlete,
it doesn't make much of a difference.
Yeah.
And given his history, right, 30th and 2 DNFs, it's probably like, yeah,
Yes.
let's let him go. But in this case, he has shown himself to be really, really strong, and now it's too late. But I do think, like I said, yes, they let him get away some, but I think he's just been a really superior and a stronger runner here today.
Yep.
I spoke with several Ethiopian athletes at the news conference on Friday, and they told me Oshe Nofi, that is the Ethiopian word for champion.
Nice.
So he is very close.
Yep.
Oshe Nofi, and be the champion here in Boston, the 128th Boston Marathon.
Coming up to about 800 meters to go here in this race. He's looking good, everybody.
You get the big right onto Hereford and then the left onto Boylston. That's what everybody wants to do, make that. He'd be the first Ethiopian to win the race since Lemmy Berhanu back in 2016. The Ethiopians, especially on the women's side, dominating the form chart in the top 50.
Well, when I asked his agent, I said, tell me a little bit about Lema. And he said, he's a very kind man. He's a family man. He celebrates his wins, his opportunities with his family. He's a father of two. We talk a lot about the moms out there. Well, he's a dad as well. He works super hard. And this is something that is so important to him. He wanted to nail running in Boston. He wanted to win here, and he's got big sights on Paris this summer, and we'll have to see if Ethiopia names him to the team.
He's won the London Marathon. That was his world marathon major victory, but he's also won in Valencia. He's won a marathon in Slovenia, in Frankfurt, Vienna City. So he is in Poland, but nothing other than London of this quality, and nothing that suggested, other than his form time of 2:01:48, but nothing in his past in this race showed that he was ready to put on this performance.
Well, John, on paper, when you run 2:01, you got to talk about him. He has to be a favorite. But it looks like now we have a little bit of jostling for positioning here in second and third. That's Issa in second right now.
Yeah, Mohamed Essa comes from out of nowhere. Evans Chebet, it was John Courier, and now he's finishing strong.
Issa's a 2:05:05 marathoner. That's from 2022 when he set his PB. He just ran Valencia against Lema, and he ran 2:05 there for 8th place, so he's having a great day as well.
Yeah, he was on the podium in Tokyo, took second there behind Evans Chebet, Chebet's teammate Benson Kipruto. But this is all about Cisse Lema coming down. He will be the champion. Oshe Nofi for him. The motorcycles are about to pull away. He's got guys that are they're in the background, but they are safely in the background. They are directing him to the side of the road that has the finish tape.
2 times DNF here. Last year, 30th place. This man is a 2:01 guy. He knew he could win, and man, did he show us today.
He showed speed early, and here he has shown guts. It's going to be better than 2:06, but he has held on and he has fought through over those last 10 kilometers. And there is a new men's champion at the Boston Marathon. Cisse Lema, first to the tape after 26.2 miles. How about DNF 30th and number 1? Outstanding for him.
Well, John, you ask why we run these marathons. This is what it's all about. You go through the ebbs and flows over all of the courses, the hurts. And that right there, he loved exactly what he did today, crossing the finish line in first. And here comes Mr. Issa and his biggest day yet.
And here comes Mohamed Essa. He will be second in the Boston Marathon, and Evans Chebet, what a fine showing he's given in his defense, trying to become the first man since Robert Kipkoech Chariot 2006-2008 to be a 3-time champ. And he's going to go first, and on the podium again. Evans Chebet across for him as he comes across again in third place. Just over 2:07. 2:07:22 that he comes through in his winning time. Lema 2:06:17 is the winning time, and all those guys that are now within striking distance, that, you know, if this was 45K and not 42, they might have gotten him. But on this day, Lema leads Boston and wins Boston wire to wire. officially, flash time 2:06:17. Unofficially, they've got it at 2:06:18. As we go back in the pack now, and here's the women's pack, and Emma Bates, who had been out in front, and she's getting swallowed up here, Carrie.
Well, she's right in it, though, and this is something that every athlete has to work on. If you are leading and you get that thrill of breathing the air first and everyone else behind you, she has to be able to control herself and get back in and get back on it. She's not running any slower than anyone else around her. She's not losing the race. She just has to settle back in and get back on it.
And that was moments ago as she dropped back, and now we look at it live.
Oh, and now she is dropped back. Excuse me. I thought we were watching that live. So now Helen has decided to go. It's almost like she just pointed to her head right there. She's doing something, and maybe she's praying, going through some sort of visualization right now when she's out there. And that's what a lot of athletes do. They start to do that internal dialogue. What can take me away from the pain that I'm feeling physically? And you start to work yourself. I can remember the great Paula Radcliffe repeating her name, her daughter's name over and over when times got tough.
Keep yourself going.
Yeah, the why can be a powerful thing here. And we've heard everybody, so many say, I think about the miles I put in, I think about the people who have helped me, whether it's coaches, whether it's a spouse, whether it is your physio, all those people that help you get there. And then you have some people that it's very simple. It's like, I got to fight through here because tomorrow's going to be an easier day for sure.
Yeah, that is for sure.
The women are through 21 miles now, and this is still a really big pack.
Yeah, it is a big pack. And, you know, one person off to the left of Helen Obiri there, Worknish Adesha, she just ran in January the Osaka Marathon where she was first. She ran a new PB of 2:18:51. That's January. We're here in April. That is not that long ago, and she looks very smooth. She's in the kind of charcoal with the pink Adidas outfit right there on the left of Helen.
And they came through in 17:25 for their last 5K. Lokedi, Obiri, Yurga, Yeshina,
Steady
Adessa's there,
Eddie,
Gugi's there,
Edna Kiplagat,
Dariba, and then I kind of chuckled when you said it. It's like, if you just stay with Edna for a while, you'll be okay. And literally,
I
she's
truly believe
nursing
that.
the group through.
I mean, she is raising these young kids over here now in America. They are both very good runners. They are superb at golfing. And it is so fun to hear her talk about why she still does it. And you know one of the reasons why? Those kids. Her kids look up to her and they see what she's all about. Wendy and Carlos, big shout out, because guess what? It's because of you two that your mama is still out here doing what she does.
Also in that pack, Tiruyi Mesfin, who has the 5th fastest seed time. This is her world marathon debut, her Boston debut, obviously, then her 4th marathon. She's had a 6th in Valencia in Trinidad, a 4th in Portugal, 2nd in Hamburg, and 5th in Amsterdam. All last year, ran 3 marathons a year ago. Everybody kind of, for most part, other than if you ran the Olympic trials, the Americans running some second ones, but this is most people's spring marathon. Timing's a little tricky. You got to work in the Olympics as well, which is, as we said, for these women, 118 days away, which is time to recover and certainly get after it again. Lokedi, the first to get her bottle, so she's back away from the table and out in the center of the road. Very distinct running style, the way her feet kick out there.
Little shout out to her. Edward Cheserek and her tied the knot a little earlier this winter.
Ches was supposed to run here. He was unable to go, but he's here in spirit. Well, actually, he's here physically to help with the spirit and cheer her on.
Worknish Adessa, the woman there that I was talking about, just a couple little tidbits from her. She went out very aggressively when she ran Berlin. She tried to go through the half in 67:40. She paid dearly. This race, she's coming back from running so well just in January in Osaka, and she was more patient this race. Can this woman be the one that gives Helen Obiri a real run for her money at the end? We'll have to see.
Well, I count 11, and we'll find out when we come back, but I count 11 that are still in the hunt with less than 5K to go in the women's elite race. When we come back, that man, Lema, the men's champ, we'll hear what he has to say about winning Boston in 2024.
Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America.
We are so here for the good stuff. The women down to 5, including Edna Kiplagat. Helen O'Beary's out there. Greba, Sharon Lokedi is out there, and I am skewered at this point as they sneak around. But the pack of 20 has gone to 11 and now has gone to 5 as they will sprint in the final miles here. And before we get to that, Hannah Storm, congratulations. You're the one person today that was able to catch Cisse Lema.
Right, Cisse Lema, wire to wire here in Boston, and sweet redemption. And here with his interpreter, how did you manage to turn around your fortunes here in Boston?
እንዴት ነው እድልህን እንደዚህ አድርገህ ወደ ለመቀየር ያደረሰ? ባለፈው ዓመት ያመጣሁት ስለምታይ
እውነት ነው። እኔም የመጣሁት የባለፈውን አቋርጬ የወጣውን ድል ለማምጣት ነው።
That's it, as you know, I stopped the race and when before I finished, and I wanted to a redemption for that. That's why I came.
የባለፈውን አቋርጬ የወጣቸውን ድል ለማምጣት ነው መጣሁት። እንደዛም ቀንቶኛል። እግዚአብሔርን አመሰግናለሁ።
And I thank God that I was able to redeem myself from the failure of last year, and I won. So I'm happy.
What was your strategy today, and what was your biggest challenge?
ፕላንና ስትራቴጂ እቅድ ያደረከው ምን ነበር? እንደገና ደግሞ ትልቁ ያስቸገረ ነገር ስትሮጥ ምን ነበር?
ትልቁ ያስቸገረኝ ቦታው ውጣ ውረድ ስለሆነ እኔ ፕላኔ ደግሞ ኮርስ ሪከርድ ለመስበር ነበር የመጣሁት።
My plan was to break the course record, but it's so hilly up and down, and that took a little lot, make me tired a little bit.
You are a father of 2 boys. What will you tell them one day about what you managed to accomplish today?
የሁለት ልጆች አባት ነህ። ለእነኚህ ለሁለት ልጆች ዛሬ ያጠናቀቀውን ውጤት በሚመለከት ምን ብለህ ነው የምትነግራቸው?
የደስታ ፊሊንጌን ለእነሱም ደስ እንዳላቸው ይሄ ደግሞ ይመሰክራል። እነሱም ደስ እንደሚላቸው ነው። ደግሞ ደውዬ ኮንግራ ይላቸዋለሁ።
I know I'll make them very happy because I'm going to call them right now and tell them, and I'll also show them the shoes and show them that I made history here, and I know they will be happy.
And what does this mean potentially for the Paris Olympics?
ለፓሪስ ኦሎምፒክ ምን አይነት ዝግጅት የሚረዳ ይመስላል? አሁን ያለ ያገኘው ውጤት?
አዎ እዚህ የመጣውም አንደኛው የኦሎምፒክ ኮርስ ውጣ ውረድ ስለሆነ፣ ሁለተኛ መውቃት ስለሆነ ይሄ ኮርስ ደግሞ ይረዳኛል ብዬ የመጣሁት ለዛው ነው።
The reason I came to run in Boston was because Boston Marathon is similar to the Paris Marathon because there's up and down the hill, and I know that it will help me, and I'm glad that I did that, and it will help me there too.
Many congratulations. A fantastic redemption story and a wonderful victory. Congratulations, Cisse Lema. Back to you, John.
Thank you, Hannah. We're not sticking with me very long. We want to get out to Naoko Funiyama. Naoko, you only got 3 to take care of now. You got O'Beary, Lokedi, and Kiplagat.
This has been an unbelievable race and so poetic that both Edna and Helen are in this lead here because guess what? Helen is training in Boulder, Colorado, and who recommended that she move there? Edna Kiplagat. Kiplagat says it is a great place to be. It is a great place to raise your kids. She was even laughing about how, when she goes back to Kenya, she can't quite get her training down correctly because there's people knocking on her door. She can't get her rest and recovery in. So she said, Colorado, it's so peaceful. That's where you can really focus on your work. So it's amazing to see both of them here. Now, Dathan Ritzenheim, Helen's coach, had really trained her to hold back, be patient at the beginning of the race. He said, I don't care if you take the lead to just get a drink, but I need you to tuck back into the crowd, and then when you hit mile 20, that's when you can go. He said, I don't want to see you on TV until mile 20. Well, we're past mile 20. They're running the last mile they ran at a 4:59 pace. So game on, John.
Oh, it's terrific. You got 3 former New York City Marathon champions. Helen O'Beary, 23, 22 was Sharon Lokedi. Both of them made their marathon debut in the 5-borough race there in November. And then, of course, Edna Kiplagat, who's the champion from 2010. She's an ageless wonder.
She really is. And I think she just loves what this sport brings to her life. As you said, she moved over here. She is here in Boulder and just loving every minute of it. Let's give Sharon Lokedi some attention. We haven't seen her much up in front, and she's here. She's had some injuries. She's had some ups and downs, but every time she comes, she knows how to gauge her fitness and gauge where she's at, and she's here fighting for this win. I mean, when we saw her win New York City, I don't know if really anyone really believed in your first time running a marathon you would win, and she did that. First time running here, she couldn't come last year, so she's here for the first time, and she's fighting for the win.
And now she pulls away from Edna Kiplagat. Edna's got some fight, and I guess it is kind of amazing that it was Lokedi dropping out last year that made the space for O'Beary to get into the race and win it.
Yeah. Well, this is something where we have to start thinking. Sharon Lokedi's thinking, do I have the turnover that Hellen O'Beary has? Hellen O'Beary just ran incredibly fast two years ago in the 5,000 on the track. She's still run 14 lows for 5K. So we know that she can run fast. Sharon Lokedi is an NCAA champion, over 10,000 meters here in the States, but she doesn't have that true speed. So I think she does have to try to run that kick out of her, and she's got to start now.
10-time and All-American with the Jayhawks. They've left Edna Kiplagat behind, so it's now just these two fantastic women. They're going to go the rest of the way. Country women from Kenya, Sharon Lokedi and Hellen O'Beary. O'Beary trying to become the first. We made so much of the Evans Chebet trying to be a three-time winner. Last repeat champion for the women, Catherine Ndraba, in 2004 and 2005. So no small feat. It's been 2 decades since we've had a back-to-back women's champ here in Boston.
This is exactly what Sharon Lokedi did when she won New York City. She wanted to, you could see her being antsy and antsy. She wanted to get going, and she timed that kick out perfectly. She got to Columbus Circle, which everyone knows, it's like the right on Hereford, left on Boylston. When you get to Columbus Circle, that's when you start to go. She's going to get ready to go.
And there's a whole lot of room there, whole lot of road, and but we're going to be elbow to elbow in this thing.
This is how Hellen O'Beary likes to race. She's run super fast over 800 meters, 1,500 meters, 5K, 10K on the cross-country courses. She likes to feel people there. I know she likes to break the tape, but she gets almost more excited when she has competitors around her.
Well, that pack of 20, boy, they thinned it really quick through the hills, and coming out of the hills mostly is where they decided that they separated the old wheat from the chaff. And so now those two women, Edna Kiplagat again, who's come through here. I mean, her finishes in New York, or in Boston, as you mentioned, she was 30th, which is just out of characteristic. She won in her debut in 17, 9th in 18, 2nd in 2019. She won in 21 at age 41. Like, this is when she should just be setting Masters records, and that's it. But she's not, and well, she's getting left here a little bit. It's incredible to stay in this race for 24 miles.
Yeah, you know, with 2 miles to go, there's a lot of antsiness happening, and I know a lot of people, is that a word? Antsiness? I've just made it up.
Close
if it
enough.
isn't. But you know what? There are a lot of thoughts going on of what can I do, where should I go, hold my form together, make sure, like Edna just got her final maybe water. I mean, it's just all these things are going into play, but yet you're wondering what the heck is going on next to me.
Amanda, you've been in this situation. I guess it's wheelchairs is the women's league, but you've been fatigued. You've been in competition this tight. Like, that's all the same stuff.
It's all the same stuff, and those last couple miles can feel so long. Yeah. It's hard coming into a race too as a returning champion. You've got a special target on you. Everyone knows that you've done it, and you know how to run this race, and you know how to win this race.
I think it's so cool that these two leading right now, Hellen O'Beary and Sharon Lokedi, are friends. I mean, you know you want to beat each other like nobody's business, and it is all about getting to the finish. But they're friends, they know each other. And just another side note, I mean, these ladies like to do girly things like we like to do, but Hellen O'Beary told me she painted her nails, she got her manicure done. She has pink all over 8 of them for her little girl, Tanya, and 2 of them are for her husband, Tom, who has yellow on her nails. But you know, when she looks down at that big arm swing, she's looking at those nails, and you know who she's running for.
It's a reminder of why she's out here and why she's doing this.
Yeah.
Well, the fans, you can hear them in the background, they are eating this up. Go through mile 24 in 4:41. So the last two they've dropped under 5.
Did you just say 4:41? Let's say that again.
Would you like to read it for yourself?
4:41, people. These ladies are hammering.
David Monty has excellent penmanship. That's 4:41.
I know. I have to repeat that because a lot of people would kill to run 1 at that pace.
So not only is there the Boston Marathon Championship on the line, but the winner here probably secures themselves a spot on the Kenyan Olympic team for Paris in just a few months.
Potentially the hardest team to make in the world. There are so many Kenyan athletes that have an opportunity to run there. But these two have shown time and time again, they show up at these championship-style races. Guess what? Paris is hilly.
Paris is hilly. That course is going to be tough. And we heard Lema say he wanted to run here because he wanted that preparation for Paris, because this is so similar to what the conditions are going to be like this summer.
It's perfect timing, right? April, take a little bit of rest, maybe get in a good tune-up over the summertime, and then get ready to roll in Paris.
Yeah, worth mentioning again, Paris 118 days away for the women's race. It's on the final day of the games on August 11th. It'll be the closing track and field event. And what a close we have here in this race in the 128th Boston Marathon. The last two have come down to the final mile. The last one came down to the final meters in Obiri and Lokedi, and right now no break in either one of them through 24 miles.
Well, what I love about it is that these two encourage each other so much to do well in life, on the roads, on the track, wherever. But that is so comforting right here. Even with Edna, when they had Edna right there with them as well in third position. They are countrywomen, they are friends, they are teammates, they are rivals. But that is what gets you going, knowing that there's a sense of comfort with each other right there. They are working together to get through these final stages.
Looks like the two of them just passed 40K at 2:15:54.
They're great, by the way, on top of that.
They're so good. And, you know, Sharon Lokedi here, as they pass through mile 25 right there, Sharon Lokedi has had this amazing professional career, but she's still very young in it. Hellen Obiri is quite potentially the greatest of all time that we've seen. And I think that it is so neat for us to be able to say that. We are watching her here in the States time and time again. We're kind of lucky here over the States. We get to see her race quite often.
All the time.
Gold medalist at 5,000 in the World Championships in 2017 and 2019. A silver medal in the 10K in 22. That was a great race in Eugene. Everybody remembers that. Silver medals in the Olympics. They go 15:06. That's Carrie's chuckling at 15:06
Guys,
for the last 5K.
my PR for the 5K is 15:04. That was a 5K only.
It was not 35 to 40K?
No, it wasn't.
It was just 0K to 5K.
I mean, I'm just going to say I didn't have the shoes, but you know.
Okay, that's it. Otherwise,
that was the reason.
Right, you'd run 15:01 as they go by. They don't have time to watch the Red Sox game as they go by, so we'll just tell you there's no score in the top of the fourth, so they don't have. Maybe somebody can relay that off the motorbike to those two gals who care nothing right now about baseball.
No.
Do not care.
But I will say that Hellen Obiri likes cookies over ice cream, and she's so pumped to get to the finish line because she said she will celebrate.
They're now under a mile out, still together.
Yep.
A little bit. Obiri pushing a little bit, and Lokedi check back to see where third might be, because Obiri has now decided to put the hammer down.
It still looks like it's Edna Kiplagat in third, but this is really where anyone that commentates on Hellen Obiri's races, they say it time and time again, but look at her arms. That is the signature kick for her. She is moving. She is still within herself. She looks good. She's compact, except that her arms start to move, and they work really hard on that.
Boston strong as they go under there. There's inspiration for that. There's inspiration from every one of those people on the side of the road, in addition to what you mentioned with her daughter and her family. There's inspiration to just, in this case, for some of them, just to race and to win. At some point, you have all this training. At some point, too, you just got to have some want to. And her want to is pretty strong.
I asked her, is it more important to run fast times or break the tape? She says break the tape every single time, and that's what she does. We have seen her be able to run very fast. She doesn't have that fast time, but look at the courses that she runs. We haven't seen her on a Chicago, on a Berlin, on a Valencia, on an Amsterdam. We've seen her on these challenging courses, and she looks so good, you guys. Even a year ago, we didn't quite know if this was going to be her distance, and she did. Again, run super fast for mile 25, 4:52. I think we can literally call her a marathoner now that has found her distance.
Although she does say she really kind of misses the track and wants to do those workouts, but
really,
the last little uphill there was but that arm action, big swings, but you know that. we talk about how are your legs strong. Working those arms uphill is huge. Close that arm angle. You want to get it tight and really work that. And she comes into starting into view of everybody that sees. They've taken the tape out for her. The woman's run 4 marathons. She was 6th in her debut in New York City. She won in Boston, then she backed that up with a win in New York. And now she will make those final 2 turns. You get the right onto Hereford, left onto Boston.
Dathan Ritzenhein, her coach, has said that she's been training 20 to 25 miles per week more. They have had her in this marathon training now for a couple years, so they've been able to push the envelope a little bit, and it is showing. You could see just the patience, the strength. She's getting that fueling down. We saw that in her first race in November back in 2022 when she ran New York. She didn't have that fueling down. Now she seems to have everything going for her, and it's clicking.
On Boylston Street, and downhill she comes, hitting 221, the 221 mark. She won here in 221.38. So again, a little slower, but she races so well. And I hate to quote Paul McCartney, especially from Wings, but she's Helen Wheels.
She is. Actually, Dathan Ritzenhein thinks that she is in 2:11 shape, or was back this fall. And you know what? That means that she is one of the best in the world, and we know that, but the world record is 2:11 now, and if he thinks she can run that, look out. It's going to be a fun race in Paris if she makes that team.
And when she finished second in the Houston half in 66.07, Ritz said, that was about 80%, Helen.
Woo.
She brought her 100% best right here. There you see in third place, Edna Kiplagat. And the motorcycles are going to pull away soon. And that is Helen Obiri in full flight right now, on her way to her second Boston Marathon win. And Sharon Lokedi, who hadn't run a marathon since trying to defend her title in New York last November, had to scratch late for this race in 23, and her first try has run exceptionally well. There you see a great look down Boylston Street at those 2 women, and then the close-up, because it's her show again.
Patience, and all fire here now in the final stages.
Back-to-back in Boston for the magnificent Helen Obiri. The bells of the South Church will toll again for Obiri, champion of the 128th Boston Marathon. And Sharon Lokedi on the podium in second, a magnificent run to the runner-up finish.
You gotta give it up to Sharon Lokedi as well. But here, look at this, Tom, her husband, and her little girl, and the coaching staff all coming up to her. It is such an honor to be able to say that she's a 2-time Boston Marathon champion.
Here you see Jack Fleming, the head of the Boston Athletic Association. And here comes the timeless Edna Kiplagat. Another podium finish.
Just going over 2:23, John. I mean, she is amazing. She's not even going to stop. She just keeps on going through that line, and we are so thankful.
Champion here in 20 and 27, a runner-up in 2019, and on the podium in third place here in 2024. Helen Obiri, the first back-to-back winner since Catherine Andraba in 2004 and 2005. And we're going to give her 1, 2, 3 seconds before I go. Now, like Evans Chebet, she can worry about three-peating next year. And I'm going to be quiet. You just want to hear the adoring cheers here. Bates as the top American again for the second year in a row. Excuse me, Emma Bates.
Yeah, Emma Bates has been through so much, and she missed that Olympic trials. It doesn't happen every year. As you all know, it's every 4 years, and she was devastated in her very first big injury like that. And then she came back and got another little injury along the way. Look at her taking it in. She is tough. She is smart. She is gritty. She ran every single way today. And again, top American. Way to go, Emma Bates. And guess where she's from originally?
Let me guess, Minnesota?
Minnesota, don't you know? And we are so proud of her.
Oh, yeah. So for the second straight year, top American. Crosses 2:27.13. A year ago, she finished 2:22.10, which is the second fastest time ever by an American. By the way, we didn't get through him, but remind everybody or let everybody know, C.J. Albertson, first American. He was in 7th place, 2:09.53.
Can we give it up to him? He ran 3 marathons in 5 weeks. He has just been giving it everything he's had this year, and so big day, 2:09.53. Wow. Great job, CJ.
Take a look at the top 10 for the women. It's a Kenyan sweep of the podium with Obiri, Lokedi, and Kiplagat. Fine run down there. We didn't see much of her, but Gardadi of Morocco, who finishes in 8th place. She won a bronze medal at the World Championships in the marathon in Budapest. So she comes through and times that out and runs really well here on this day. And I want to add one more thing about C.J. Albertson. This is the 5th straight year that the top American has been 7th place.
Yeah, on the men's side.
Yeah, but like, how do you do that 5 times in a row? You finish 7th. It had been Scott Fauble 3 times, and then here's C.J. Albertson.
Yeah.
So,
can we just mention the huge roar? It was Emma, and then Sarah Hall came in, and then Des Linden came in, and it was just deafening in here.
well, listen, that's over the last decade or two, that's USA royalty.
Yeah.
In marathoning for sure.
Yeah, it was a wonderful day. What an awesome race on the women's side and on the men's side, and the wheelers, amazing.
Absolutely amazing, all of it.
Helen Obiri, I think, again, to me, just somehow catches everything that this event is about. There's Des Linden coming through. Again, first name on their bib means you've won here before, and she was in 2018. And listen, every day and every weather day for her that's not 2018 is a fantastic day.
Yeah.
For her to come through. She's meant so much, and she's a giver when it comes to the running.
I mean, she has been so busy. Des Linden has been out here doing podcasts and doing interviews and meeting people, and she loves it. I think that's what gets her out of bed every day, is not necessarily the run, it's the people and the community that she has built.
That amazing range of things that have happened that started with Marcel Hug, who wins in a record time by 5 minutes, to this wonderful Obiri-Lokedi duel into the last mile here, which is, I guess, all we can hope for on a day of this. Gosh, now that I've given everybody 28 seconds to think about it, but what kind of stands out to you over the last 2.5 hours?
I mean, Marcel Hug obviously coming in for his 7th win here. I asked him, can he go sub 117? Can he run in the 115s? He said yes, and he did it. He skipped going sub 16, or sub 17. He is now the first man to run sub 116 in a wheelchair over the marathon distance. And then on the women's side, Eden Rainbow Cooper, a newcomer. She's 22. This is her first Boston win. This is her first major win. She went out strong. She went out confident. And she's going to shake things up in that women's field.
Yep, when they all get back in there, and because there's been some changes in how people have approached their schedules with the Paralympic year going on, and they'll be there in mid-August in Paris as well, so we didn't see Tatiana McFadden. But she beat some real people in there, right? Like, this was not a field so diluted that you go, oh, well, she won that. She was fantastic, and really what a great performance for her to break the seal on winning World Marathon Majors. And there's the top 3 American women: Emma Bates,